Okay, hi everybody. I wanted to do a quick walkthrough to introduce you guys to Unity, and I thought the great way to do that would be to make a simple game that I could show you sort of the process that I follow to make it and put it together in Unity, and you can follow along. So I was looking around. I needed something very, very simple, so I was looking around to get inspiration. Thought about maybe doing Pac-Man. Very classic game, very simple game. But I think this is best for the save for the first homework assignment, where you have to implement sort of the ghost AIs and things like that. So I decided to implement Asteroids, and the classic Asteroids game is. You got a little spaceship, you're shooting these asteroids. As you shoot them, they break up into smaller asteroids. You fly around, you've got some points, and you've got some lives over here. So I thought this would be a great place to start for the game. So let's get started. So the first thing I like to do is to come up with a to-do list that helps me sort of keep track of the stuff I need to do in the game. Because games are a lot about lots of little to-do items, that you got to take care of. So it helps sometimes to make a good to-do list that you can follow along for the game. So let's make a to-do list. In fact, let's stick it here in this asteroids directory. And so let's see for asteroids, what do I need to do? So the first thing I need is a spaceship. And I need to have a spaceship, moving around and stuff like that. And then I need to have asteroids and move around. Then I need to check collision between ship and asteroid. And at that point, it'll be already a game, right? Because you have a spaceship that has to run away from the asteroids. But to make it more real, we need to have bullets, so you can fire at the asteroids. And so therefore you can have the asteroids blow up, right? And then I need to add explosions for both ship and asteroids. So there's a little bit of effects there. Then we've got lives. So we're going to have like 3 lives or something like that. We're going to use up the lives. We're going to have score. And at the end, then I'll add the audio effects, right? And that should be basically everything I want to do for this basic game. I want to spend a couple hours just doing this, just to demonstrate how to do that for you guys. So it's not a huge endeavor. Okay, so let's use that on my to-do list, and I'll keep track of that. So I go in, and I've provided some game assets that I found that directly follow this list. So I've got an asteroid, I've got some sound effects. I just went ahead and found these earlier that are basically what I want to be using for this. Okay, the next step is to go ahead and open up Unity. And so I'm going to open up Unity Hub. And we can see here, for example, that we've had the previous version, the installation. If it's correct, you'll be able to see it there. So in this case, 2020.1.6, I can see that there in the installs. If not, you can go to Add and select the install. I guess they have a new version there. And so I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. So you go here to Projects, click on New, and I'm going to make a 2021 project. I'm going to make a 2D project, so I'm going to select the 2D template. It really doesn't make that much of a difference because everything in Unity is fundamentally 3D, but it's a little bit easier if you're using a 2D template for this kind of project because it's a 2D game. I'm going to call it Asteroids, and usually my default's to have something in a Unity stuff directory. Let me go ahead and make that here. Unity stuff. So Unity stuff, go ahead and create. This process takes, I don't know, almost a minute on my laptop. It's not a super fast laptop. So while that's going on and distributing all the packages and sort of getting everything set up, let me talk a little bit about the strategy here. So I'm going to present one way to do this stuff, right? It's not necessarily the only way it can be done, but it's just one way we can do it. And so as you're doing it, you can have different ideas. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to open it up. Let me start off by giving a quick tutorial on what we're seeing here. So on the left here we have a hierarchy where we're going to have all our the objects, the game objects that we're going to be in the game, going to be listed here, along with the camera and things like that. Over here is the scene of what we're actually going to be seeing in the game, and you can switch between the scene tab and the game tab to see what the game version of the screen would actually be. Down here we have all our directories with all our assets and things like that. And then over here is going to be an inspector where we can edit properties of the different things. So just to get things set up first, let's go ahead and make a few directories here to keep things kind of organized in the assets directory. So let's go ahead and make a new folder. Let's call it bitmaps. We're going to keep all the bitmaps there. Another folder, create new folder. We're going to have some prefabs. These are objects, game objects that we've put a bunch of stuff together, prefabricated, so to speak. We've got scripts, so let's go ahead and put a directory, scripts. I like things very organized. It makes it possible to make more complex games if you have things organized, so please make sure you're organized and careful. Now I'm just going to do this, while I'm saying I'm going to be organized, this is going to be quick and dirty because I only have a couple hours to do this game. So as you can see, I'm just going to take some shortcuts from time to time, but that's okay. We're just trying to show you the process. Okay, so let's get started. So the very first thing I want to do is do the spaceship, as we saw from our to-do list there that we did. So let's go ahead and bring in the game asset. So there's a couple of ways to do that. For example, I can take the spaceship here and I can drag it in there. Okay, just directly drag it. Why don't we go ahead and do that? I'll do that this way, okay, for right now, and then I'll do a different way for the asteroid. So there we go. The spaceship has been dragged in, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in the bitmaps directory because that's a bitmap. Okay, open it up. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the spaceship on our scene. So now we've got a scene with a spaceship. Okay, and as you can see, perhaps that the spaceship is maybe a little bit on the large side. It's not that small. It's taking up a lot of the screen there. In fact, let me just make sure that I adjust the screen settings there. If I go to game, I just want to make sure that I do it standalone 1920 1080. So I get a faithful representation of what I'm going to be looking at as much as possible. Okay, so this is too big, so I'm going to scale it down. I'm going to use, there are multiple ways to do it. You can use this scale tool over here, but I'm just going to type it in here. 0.1 and 0.1. So that now I've got a little tinier little version of my spaceship there. And I can save. Okay, there's my spaceship. Okay, so if I go ahead and play by hitting this button, now I go into the game mode, and this is what I'm going to see, right? A spaceship on a blue background. Now maybe I don't want a blue background, so let me go ahead and go to main camera. And over here where it says background, I'm going to change it to black. Just like that. Just boop. Okay. So now it's a black background. So when I click on there, play, I have a space-looking background. Great. So already I'm half the way done there, right? Okay, so I've got a spaceship, and I've got to add a few more things to my spaceship. So first of all, I need to, I'm going to add a script that allows me to move it. Okay, so I'm going to add component, and there's a couple of ways to do this. For example, I can go new script, and I'm going to call the script spaceship. And so there we go. We have a new script called a spaceship. And if I go to my assets folder, I will see there's a C# file called spaceship. And I'm going to put that in the scripts directory so it's nicely organized. Okay? So that's how I can program the functionality of this. For example, in the very first thing I want to do is get the spaceship to move around. So let's go ahead and do that. So I open up the script, and I can do that by double-clicking on this file here. And it should open up Visual Studio, as you can see. Okay. You see the following file. This is a C# file, and we've got public class spaceship, which gets the information from mono behavior. This is usually the typical one for game objects that you're going to instance in the game. There's two methods that are already pre-declared for you: start and update. Start is what's called right before the first frame is executed, and update is the one that's called every frame, once per frame, whatever the frame rate happens to be. Okay, those are the two. Now, I will note that some of you up here, it may say miscellaneous files instead of assembly C#. If it says miscellaneous files, it means that the Visual Studio has not been properly linked with Unity. And if you have that, you're going to have problems with the auto-completion, and all the functions and stuff that you need for Unity won't be there and stuff. So I really recommend that you link them correctly. And to do that, you will need to run the installer for Visual Studio and make sure that you have downloaded the Unity tools. And also you'll need to make sure you go to Unity and go to Edit, I believe, and Preferences. And in external tools, make sure that Visual Studio is selected, right? And then restart if you don't have that. Then restart everything, and it'll work. Okay, so let's get started with this. So the first thing I want to do is let's just get the ship to turn around based on a key. And as I am going to just use the keyboard for right now, just to make it easier. So let's do the keyboard. So I'm going to do if, and to get a command from the keyboard, use input. And get key, I believe. Get key, there we go, get key. Now there's two examples, key and key down. Get key is triggered every time the key, whenever the key is being held down. And get key down only gets triggered when the key goes down for the first time. And if it stays down, it doesn't get called anymore. So in this case, because I'm going to do my rotation function, so I want get key. And I do, for example, let's do J and L to turn left and right. So something like this. And this is turn, let's see, turn left. And then down here I want to do, well, I'll fill it in later. Okay, so this is get keyboard commands. Okay, so turn left. So what I want to do is I want to transform, rotate. So transform is a transformation of the current object, of the, in this case the spaceship. I want to rotate it, and I want to rotate it about an angle. So you do 0, 0, because in this case the 0 is in X, 0 in Y, and in this case it's just in Z. And I'm going to do, for right now, you'll see it in a moment, but I'll do turn angle. So it's going to turn this spaceship by a turn angle. So now what's turn angle? That's going to be updated. Oops, I'll do that underneath here. So turn angle equals, it's going to be a float. So let me do it here. Float turn angle. And it's going to be updated every time. So it's going to be some turn speed times time delta time. Okay, so what's happening here? So the way I'm choosing to do this, and again, as I said earlier, there's many ways to do this. You could do it with the rigid body 2D, for example, and stuff like that. But in this case, for turning, I don't really need that, so I'm just going to do it this way. So here's what I'm going to do. So I have this float called turn angle, and this is being called every so often. And I'm going to turn the ship at a particular rate of speed. So I'm going to have a turn speed. Okay, so up here, at the very top, I'm going to say private complete float turn speed, and it's going to turn the ship at a particular rate of speed. And I'm going to initialize to some, this is in degrees per second, I guess. So I'm going to say, let's say 45 degrees, maybe that's good enough. So basically, this is the turn speed. It's going to multiply by the amount of time. So rate times time equals distance. So this is the amount that I've turned, right? And this is the time delta time is the time from the last update call. So it just tells me how long it's been, so that when I have frames that come at different times, I can always turn in a consistent amount of thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out. So I'm going to save this. Okay, and I go back to my Unity, and I can go ahead and hit play. And so now when I hit J, look at that, my ship turns. Okay, but it's a little bit slow. I want to make it a little faster because that's a little sluggish. Okay, now how do I do that? Because it could involve me playing around with this number, right, changing it and then running it again and so on. So to make things easy in development with Unity, what I like to do is make this a serialized field, something like that. Okay, serialized. Is it serialized field? What is it? Serialized field. There we go. Okay, a serialized field. So what does that mean? That means that whenever I make something a serialized field, it's going to show up in my inspector as a knob that I can turn and play with. And that's going to allow me to adjust the speed in the application so that I can see and adjust it, and then once I know what it is, I can hard code it here. So let's go back to Unity. I hit play. And let me select my spaceship and see I'm going to have a field called turn speed right there, right? And so right now, it's kind of sluggish, so let's make it 90. So that just updates the parameter directly. So now that's a little better, but still a little bit slow. So let's make it 120. I want to get a particular feeling for the speed. Okay. That's better, but it's still a little bit slow, right? I want it a little bit more responsive, I think. Yeah, I think it could be a little more responsive. So I'm going to make it 180. There you go. That feels better. Okay, good. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to make that 180. And then I don't need to have it as a field anymore. One note that if you update it here, and if I were to keep that, the parameters are overwritten by the interface here. So I would change it there, but then it would be overwritten here. So you have to be careful about that. Okay, and then that's just to turn left. Let's make it turn right. Now I could do an else if, but then I can't do both. And I feel like with thrusting and stuff, I want to just have separate if statements for now. Maybe it's not the ideal way to do it, but that's fine. I'm just doing it quick and dirty. And in this case, let's see. So the turn angle. So there's going to be a minus version of that, like that. Okay, so now it should be able to turn one way and the other. Let's go ahead and take a look. Play. Turn this way. Turn that way. Okay. Pretty good. Okay, so now I can turn my ship. Now let's have it thrusting forward, right? So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to add another command. So actually, just turn right. Okay, so I can turn left, turn right, and I'm going to do space, or I'm sorry, K for forward. So K. So if I get the key K, then this is thrust, and I'm going to move the ship forward. Okay. I'll get there in a moment here. I've got a couple things to do, some housekeeping. So first of all, I need a direction that I'm facing. So at the very top of my screen here, I'm going to put ship direction. So I'm going to make private vector 3. Oops, sorry, vector 3. And I'm going to call it ship direction equals new. And this is going to be vector 3. 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0. Good. So it's facing up. That's where I'm starting. Okay. The ship always faces up at the beginning. And so this is the ship direction. And then one thing is when I rotate the ship, I also need to rotate the ship direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the ship direction. So I'm going to take this turn angle and apply it to the ship direction. Now, so I need to apply an angle to a vector. And the way to do that is something called a quaternion. So I do quaternion dot Euler quaternion, and I provide the angle of rotation, which is 0, 0, turn angle. And this basically is the way to think about quaternions is it comes up with something that when you multiply by a vector, it rotates it by that amount. So now I can multiply that by ship direction, and let's just stick that in ship direction. So I'm updating the ship direction with this, right? And I can do the same thing over here. So let's just quickly debug that, make sure that that's working. I go back to my game window over here, hit play. And then, so I can't see the ship direction because it's a private member. So I can click on here and go to debug mode. And that way I can see all of the different things. And in this case, I want to scroll down. Let me just get rid of the sprite renderer, hide these guys. Oops. And here, ship direction, do you see that right here, right? Kind of grayed out. And watch as I turn, see how it updates? And let's turn to face this way. So that way is basically facing, yes, it's almost facing the -1 direction, 0y. And if I face down, it should be the 0 direction in x and -1 in y. And if I face all the way this way, it should be the 1 direction in x and 0y. So this is exactly doing what I'm doing. It's facing that vector in that direction. Great. So the other things I want to do is I want to add some physics to the ship. So I'm going to go to Add Component, and I'm going to add Physics 2D. Make sure it's Physics 2D, not Physics. Physics 2D. I'm going to add a rigid body, which is the physics simulator, so that it's going to have stuff that's simulated. And I'm also going to add, might as well add the collider, which is going to allow me to collide with the asteroid. So I'm going to go to Collider. In this case, because of the outline of the ship, I'm going to go Polygon Collider. Okay, and so if I zoom in, you see it create a little green boundary. That's the boundary. You can highlight it on and off. That's the collision boundary. It's going to detect collisions with my asteroids. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I've got a thing there. Okay, so now what I want to do is whenever I hit the thrust, I want to give it a force in a particular direction. Okay, so lots of things to do to work through there. So the very first thing I need, though, is I need to get from this script here, I need to get access to the rigid body code, right? I need to get access to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a function, and I usually like to do things in awake. Okay, so I'll talk about this right now. This is very valuable. So there's two different kinds of functions that are called when the thing is started. There's start and awake. Awake is called when the object is first instanced. Start is called right before the first frame. So I usually like to do things right when they're instanced. So I'm going to do it in awake. And so what I want to have is I'm going to get the rigid body. So I'm going to have right over here a private rigid body 2D. I'm going to call it RB. Okay. So that's going to get me access to the rigid body stuff. And the way you access it is with a call called get component. Get component, rigid body 2D. Okay, so what this is doing is right when the game object is instanced, it's going to call this function, and you're going to get the rigid body stored in RB. Okay, so now I can do things like add forces. So when I go down to my code where I do the thrust, I can say rb.add force, and I'm going to add force in basically the direction of the ship moving, right, times some thrust factor. And I need to have another variable up here. Let's make it turn speed. I'm going to say, I'm going to make it again a serialized field, private, float, thrust. And for the beginning, right, I need to pick some thrust, let's say 1. I don't know, right, I'm just playing with it. So serialized field. So again, it's a serialized field so I can edit it from above. Another way to edit it from the Unity editor template there is to make this public. But then it is a public variable that you can access from other classes, right? And maybe I don't want that, so I can use the serialized field to be able to do that. All right, so let's take a look now. So I go over here, and let's see a couple things. So let me go ahead and play, and I'll show you a couple things that are going to happen. Okay, you see that? The spaceship kind of falls down. Let me do that again. So I play, and whoops, there goes my spaceship. That's kind of lame. And it's falling. Why is it falling? Because if I look in my rigid body, I have gravity turned on. So I'm going to turn gravity off so it's in space. And I'm also going to make its mass really, 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 really tiny. Because I'm going to have my asteroids be very massive. Okay, so let's make that the... oops, sorry. I'm going to have that, so 0.0001. Okay, that sounds reasonable. That sounds nice and small. And so I've got the gravity turned off. Okay, good. So now when I hit play, I've got my ship there. It's no longer falling because there's no gravity. I can turn it from side to side, and then when I apply the thrust, oops, it blew away. It's too fast, okay? So let me go ahead and click on spaceship here, and see the thrust? I made it a serialized field so I can edit it. Let's make it 0.01. Okay, let's experiment with values here. Save. I'm going to hit play. I'm going to aim it this way. Let's see. Oh, way too fast still. Add a couple more zeros there. 0, 0. Maybe that's better. Okay, play. Okay, so it's still a little bit speedy. I think it could use one more 0. Yeah, that has the right feel to it. Okay, that's better. So that has the right feel to it. So let's go and put that in here. So that's thrust 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, and I can make that not a serialized field. And I go back and see that field has disappeared from here. The thrust field is hidden. It's in the debug mode. If I go back to normal mode, I won't be able to see that. Hit play. Okay, now I'm thrusting around. Kind of want it just a little bit more responsive, actually. So I'm going to make this 0.0015. I think that'll be a little better. Okay, that's good. Now, the thing that's missing is when I go off the edge of the screens here, I need to wrap around like the original Asteroids game, right? So when you go off this way, you wrap around this way, and so on. So let's go ahead and add that, and I can add that in the script. So let's go ahead and add it into the update section. So I need to do a few things also because the speed gets quite fast and stuff like that. I want to kind of throttle that. So in the update section, the first thing I want to do is if the ship goes off to the edge, I want to handle that. So let's do that. So if ship goes off edge, wrap around to the other side, break on through. Okay, so basically if transform, which tells me the transformation of this object, position.x, so this is the x coordinate. Let's say, so if this is less than some amount, let's call that max x. In this case, it's negative because I'm doing less than the max x. Then it's going to wrap around. So I'm going to then do transform position is equal to new vector 3. Oh, that's actually vector 2. Max x. So it's going to wrap it around there, and then transform position dot y like that. Okay. Let's go ahead and just fill in max x and max y. So I'm going to do the serialized field again. Serialized field float. It's going to be a private float. Max x is equal to, I don't know for a value, I'm going to put 5 for right now. Serialize field private float max y equals 5 as well. Let's go take a look at it over here. Let's see, make sure everything is cool. Okay, let's look at it here. And I want to know what the boundaries are, so I'm going to just do a create empty game object so I can look at the coordinates. And then I'm going to translate that empty. And you see how it's updating the position and the transform information here, so I can find out the coordinates of this corner here, which appears to be 9, 5. 9, 5. So that's going to be my max, 9, 5. So let's go ahead and enter that and see how it looks. So it's going to be a 9 in F there, like that, or something like that. So what's this doing? This is if it goes on the left side below the minus 9 in this case, it's going to wrap around to the positive 9, right? And then I'm going to have an else statement that's going to do the other side. So else if the position is bigger than max x, then it's going to get minus. Right. Okay, let's experiment with this. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up here. I'm going to get rid of this game object because I don't need it. So delete, save, play. Okay, so here's my ship. Let's thrust this way. Oops, and so it goes around. Okay, it comes around, and look, it's stopping right here. Why is it stopping right there? Let's take a look at that. Well, look, it's 5 and 5. But wait, I thought I updated it up here. What's going on, right? It says it should be 9 and 5. Well, I haven't reset it. So like I said, if you make changes here, if you still have it serialized, it's going to be overwritten by whatever you set it here. So, it's 5 and 5, so it keeps it 5 and 5. If I want to update it, I can go click here and say reset, and now it updates it to 9 and 5. Okay. Now when I hit play, and I turn around and I go, I should basically almost go to the edge of the screen there. Maybe it's cut off a little bit. Oh, that looks pretty good. Okay, it wraps around. Let me come back around here and slow it way down so I can see. Oh, that looks pretty good. I can keep it like that. Yeah. Ooh, there's like a little bit of a pop I saw. Let me just see. A little bit of a pop. Yeah. I think like a 9.2 would get rid of that. Yeah, that's pretty smooth. So I'm going to make that 9.2 and let me implement the other one. So I'm going to make, go back here, I'm going to make this 9.2 and I'm going to get rid of my serialized field for that one so that it's not getting overwritten over there. And then let's explore this one. So I need to implement the code for that though. So I'm going to grab all this code. I'll just grab one of them. So this is going left and right. Now I got to do top bottom. So if it's y is less than max y. And then, so I'm going to do the transform position dot x max y, like that, right? Okay, that looks good. So if it's less than that, it puts it there. And I'm going to do an else. And then if it's that, I'm going to do minus, like that. So that should wrap it up and down, okay? Let's go ahead and play. Take a second to load. Oh, it's not, doesn't seem to be moving at all. Probably got some kind of bug. So let's take a look at it over here. So if less than, make it bigger than that. Right, so it does it, okay. Okay, so now let's go like that. And, oops, it looked like it popped a little bit, didn't it? Let's see, thrust it gently forward. Yeah, it's popping a little bit. So let's make that, I don't know, 5.2. A little bit of a gap. Okay, let's play. I didn't have to stop it, I could actually edit it on the fly. I pretty much stopped it, but it's fine. Yeah, that looks really good. Okay, so 5.2. So 5.2. I'm going a little bit slower than I normally would just because I'm trying to explain everything to you guys, but yeah, so that's the process. Should take like 20 minutes max, 10 minutes max. Okay, all right, so we've done, and at this point we have a ship that's moving around the screen. So that's a pretty good place to be. Next up, we have to start moving the start putting the asteroids in and doing that portion. Okay, so to add the asteroid now, let's go back to Unity. And what we can do is we can go ahead and drag the asteroid in, PNG, and I can drag it into the scene. So it's right there. Let me move it around here. So that's my asteroid. And if I hit play, got my ship and my asteroid. But right now my ship, nothing's going to happen because I don't have anything going on there. Okay, so I need to add a rigid body and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and add the component to the asteroid. Add physics 2D, rigid body 2D. Where is that? Okay. And then add collision. I'm going to do the polygonal collider. There we go. Okay. So if I zoom in, let's see. There's the polygon collider. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I can see the shape it's going to take. Okay, good. So now, let me go ahead and play. And you're going to see this thing fall because gravity's set to 1. So I'm going to turn off gravity so it's floating. Okay. So now I've got an asteroid kind of floating in space. And I also need to add a script. So let's do a slightly different thing. Let's say create C script. Let's call it asteroid. And then let's bind it a slightly different way than we did last time. So I'm going to bind it to here. So I'm going to add component. I'm going to add, I can literally type asteroid and there it is. So I've added the script. Let's go ahead and open the script. And so now let's start doing the asteroid. So I need to do the motion. I need to do, I want to do random initialization and that kind of stuff. So let's do the motion first. That's going to be in the update. I'm going to have a velocity, and the velocity is going to be given by the vector. So let's go ahead and take things one at a time here. So I'm going to make awake, and the awake is going to get the rigid body. So let's do the same thing. Oops, not render buffer. RB. No, let's do it like this. So private rigid body 2D RB. RB dot, RB equals get component rigid body 2D. Okay, so it's going to get through that. So that gets the rigid body. And let's go ahead and initialize it with a random position. Set random position. So transform dot position equals new vector 3. Okay, and so for this, I'm going to need, again, a max. I'm going to do serialize field, private, float, max x, serialize field, private, float, max y. And I'm going to set the values that I had before. I think it was, let me take a look here, take a peek at it. 9.2, 5.2. But I may have to change these because the asteroid's different size. 9.2, 5.2. And so what I'm going to do is initialize a random position within this range, right? So I'm going to do random initialization, so random range minus max x, max x. So what this does right here is it picks a random number uniformly for over this range. Okay, copy that, comma 0. And this is going to be y and y. Right, so it's going to pick a random position for that asteroid. So let's go ahead and try this out. Play. Ooh, compiler error, nice. Okay, so here, index was out of range. So if I go here, let's see. Oh, yeah, so I cannot just have 9.2. This is a syntax error in C#, I got to put Fs there. So that's one error. Okay, let's go ahead and go back. Go. Index was out of range. Let's see what this is. It doesn't have the capitalized letter there. Okay, so that was a problem. And there we go. So it's randomly initialized to a position. And if I play again, it's going to move it to a different position. Perfect. Okay, and then let's give it an initial random velocity. So set random velocity. So RB velocity, so the rigid body velocity in this case, is, let's see, so I want to have a maximum speed though for this, and I want to also do that for the other one too. So let's do private float max speed, and I'll set it to, I don't know, 5. Then I'll make it a serialized field too. Serialize field. Yeah. Okay, so I have some max speed. So what I'm going to do is take a vector 3. So a new vector 3. That is, the first component is going to be a random range from 0 to max speed. And the others are 0. Like that. Okay, so what this is doing, this is initializing a vector that the x component has a random length from 0 to max speed. We make it from, let's say, 0.5 f to max speed. So it's moving a little bit, and then to max speed. And then I'm going to randomly point it in a new direction by using the quaternion, right? Quaternion dot Euler, and I want 0, 0, and then I want a random angle, so random range 0 to 360, something like that. Okay, so what's happening here is I'm picking a random angle. I'm taking this vector that goes from 0.5 to max speed, so that's how fast it can go, and I point it in a random direction. So let's rock and roll. See, it's going off the screen, so I need to do the same wraparound that I did before, right? So let me go around here, and that's going to happen in my update function. So if asteroid goes off edge, then wrap around. So if transform dot position x is less than, and then here I'm going to say transform dot position equals new vector 2 minus max x. So in this case, there we go. So let's see if it's there. Oh, actually, this should be positive here. Okay. Else, and then I'm just going to copy again this here. Okay, so that's the y. Okay, so I can test that. Let's try it out. A very slow moving asteroid. It'll take forever to get there. You know what I can do? I can actually provide some thrusters to the asteroid just to kind of nudge it along. So literally I can copy this code to just get it to move, and I'm going to use some other keys. So let me just grab this. Let's see. So I'm going to just do the thrust. Yeah, this one here. So let's do it like this. So this is for debugging only. So if you hit W, that's up. I want to thrust the new Okay, so that's going to add a force in the up direction. Let me just give it a shot here. There you go. Look at that. I could defy gravity there. That's funny. And then if I go A, then I'm going to go -1, 0. And if I do, let's see, let's do D. I want to do 1, 0. And if I do Z, then it's going to be 0, -1. That'll help me just debug all this stuff. So let's go ahead and rock and roll. So here, let's see if it wraps around. Nope, that's popping a little too much, right? So I need to adjust that. So let's go ahead and select the asteroid. And right here where it's the where it's the 9.2, I need to make this bigger. Let's say I make it 10. Okay, let's see what happens. Better. Make it go this way. Oh, it pops it still a little bit. So maybe 10.2. Okay. 10.2. Let's see. I don't know where I went. So oops. See how I changed the script here, but I was in play mode when I was changing it, so it reverts back to the original. So 10.2. Just make sure that that's the latest. Play. Okay, I go here to the edge, and ooh, that looks pretty good. In fact, it could be a little bit less, I think, 10.15. Good. And then let's do the, so that's 10.15, so let's get rid of it up here. 10.15, get rid of this serial field. Serialized field, and let's play with this other one. So let's set up that. Okay, just copy this. Here's transfer in position Y is less than minus that. Then do it this way. X, it's Y. Okay, so if it's less than that, right. And then else. Okay, and then minus here. Okay, so now let's play. Slow down the asteroid. Now come down. Sorry. Okay, too much popping. Popping. So let's make this, I don't know, 6.2. 6.2. I don't know what this is happening here. Or maybe because I was including the F and didn't like that. 6.2. Okay, come down. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so, I mean, again, this is quick and dirty, so you guys can fine-tune a little bit more. Let's make that 6.2. Okay, so now we've got an asteroid moving around. It looks pretty good. A couple things that I want to do is I want to just throttle the speed a little bit. I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit for right now, and I'm going to just enforce that in my update directly, although I probably shouldn't do that. So let's see. So I'm going to clamp, or throttle velocity to max speed. So I need to have a max speed. Private max speed. And so if RB velocity magnitude is bigger than max speed, then we need to say that RB velocity should be RB velocity normalized. So this is just the normalized vector times max speed. So it limits that, right? Because remember, velocity is a vector, right, with a magnitude and a direction. So that preserves that. And for my max speed, let's say, I don't know, just gonna make it, let's say 5F. So I don't know, we can lower that later when it's moving too fast. Okay, so I've got a max speed, I've got a velocity, I've got some stuff going on here. That's cool. Looks good. Looks good. Okay, so now let me start. Let me just play this one last time here. Oh yeah. Oops. You see the errors come down here. Oh, I guess I already had a max speed. Sorry, didn't even notice. Okay, so let me play. And so then I can accelerate it, but I can't accelerate more than max speed, and that's max speed right there. It's actually moving a little too fast. Let me have that. If I just update it there, watch, max speed is still set here, so I need to reset it here. That way it's updated. And I'm going to add the thrust. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I can't go faster than that. That looks pretty massive. Because if things move too fast, then they don't look so massive. As the scale goes down, I'll change that, but that's fine for now. Okay, so that's cool in the gang. I do that. And then the last thing I want to do is start populating lots of these asteroids, so I have something to work on. So for getting towards that, though, I need a concept of a game controller, because right now what I have in my game is simply a spaceship and an asteroid, and I really don't want to do it this way, right? So here's where the prefabs are going to come in. So watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take these assets here that I put together, and I'm going to drag them into the prefabs directory, and drag them down, and it creates this thing called a prefab. This one as well, so it creates a little prefab, and I'm actually going to delete them from here because I'm going to add them procedurally. Okay, so now my scene doesn't have anything again, but all that stuff that I did is baked into these little assets over here. Okay, and I'm going to add a new, create a new empty thing that I'm going to call game controllers. I'm going to call this game controller. This is going to be my main game controller. It's going to control the game. I'm going to add a script called game controller, and I'm going to put that into the scripts directory and open it up. So let's do that. Scripts directory and open it up. Okay, so I start off devoid of everything. So let me do awake. So I like to usually put stuff in the awake thing. And the very first thing I'm going to do is sort of initialize the level. Okay, so I'm going to write a separate function because I may call it later when the level's over to start over again. So initialize level. So I'm going to do private void initialize level. And what's this going to do? So it's going to do things like spawn the asteroids and spawn my ship. Spaceship. So let's take one at a time. So spawning the asteroids. So we're going to do a loop to the init asteroids. So some number that I'm going to initialize, number of asteroids, I ++. Okay, so init asteroids. And so let me call it num asteroids. That's a little better name. And here I'm going to say private int num asteroids, and it's set to some number. Let's say 5. So what this is going to do is going to loop 5 times and execute this 5 times. And for every time that I execute, I need to create a new asteroid, right? I could just do the instantiate right here, but I want to make a new function because I want to check that they're not colliding and all that stuff. And I don't want to do it all in this messy function. So I'm going to say spawn asteroid. That's a spawn asteroid function. So private void spawn asteroid. This is going to spawn a new asteroid. Okay. So for right now, I don't care about collision, so I'm just going to do it all here. So I'm going to say game object new asteroid. This is my game object. Okay, I'm going to say new asteroid equals instantiate asteroid, and watch this, I'm going to call it an asteroid prefab. It'll all make sense in just a second. Okay, so let me explain this. So here, instantiate is what actually creates a game object in the hierarchy. So I'm actually going to do it procedurally here. And asteroid prefab is the type of object. So I need to make up here, I'm going to say public game object asteroid prefab. I'm going to set that over here. Okay, the kind of object. You'll see how I do that in a moment. So this is going to spawn a new asteroid. Okay, that should be pretty cool. I think I'm ready to try that out. So I go back to my Unity. Now I have to go to my prefabs for the game controller, right? That's the one I'm working on. And you see here, it's now created a little slot here, asteroid prefab. Why? Because I had public game object asteroid prefab, so it shows up in that inspector, right? And I'm going to drag the asteroid there. So what I'm telling it is, look, whenever you want to instantiate an asteroid, instantiate this thing, this prefab. And that's why I do it like that. So it's going to instantiate that. And so what this is doing is going to awaken. It's going to do num asteroid set to 5, and it's going to spawn 5 asteroids. Okay, all flying in different directions. Let's let it see what happens. So I'm going to hit play. There are my asteroids. Wow, it's already looking like an asteroid field, right? Oh, but they're not colliding or nothing. Huh, that's weird. Okay, so let's take a look. So if I go here, I've got rigid body. Oh, but I've turned off the collision. Let's turn on the collision. Okay, that should get stuff to collide. Okay, so in theory, if these things fly around, and watch, if I use my keys, they're all moving the same way because I have those keys to move all of them, right? That's funny. Okay, so let me just turn that off though, because I don't need that anymore. So I'm going to go down here in asteroid and kill all that get key stuff. So for debugging, let me just remove all this. Doobie-doobie-doo. Get rid of that. Okay, and let me add more asteroids so more bounce around so we can debug this properly. So I'm going to make this 12. Let's see. Maybe that's enough. I'm on a really dense asteroid field, so ooh, look at that. And see what's cool, because I've turned on collisions, right? I've got the rigid body and the polygon collider. You've got some physics going on, so when they collide, boom, stuff happens, right? It's kind of cool. Now, if you saw that collision, it wasn't, I mean, maybe it's realistic, right? When two equally massive things collide against each other from opposite directions, you actually get zero velocity, so it doesn't move, but it doesn't look cool enough. It all gets all bundled up. So actually, I want to make it bounce a little bit. I think that's more interesting if that happens. So I'm going to do that with a material. I'm going to make a material where the bounce is a little bit stronger. So let's go ahead and in assets, I'm going to make a new directory, create a new folder called materials. And the material I'm going to make, so I'm going to create, let's see, so I'm going to create a physics material 2D, and let me call it asteroid material. And this asteroid material is going to have some amount of bounciness, like more than, right now it's 0. Let's make it, 2, just for the sake of experimentation. Okay, so I have this material 2. I go back to my prefab for the asteroid, where it says rigid body, and where it, let me just see the collider. Actually, here for the collider, I'm going to stick in that prefab there. Okay. Oops, I better stop it. So let's see. Did it go through? Asteroid. Turn this. Yeah, so it's their asteroid. Okay, so let's play and see what happens. Okay, that's a little too bouncy. See how they bounce around a little bit too much? So I'm going to just reduce that just a tad. So I go back to my materials, asteroid, let's make that 1.4. So then I go my prefab, I don't have to go, yeah, just go play. Some of that weirdness that you're seeing is because the asteroids are instantiated on top of each other, so there's like a force, but that looks pretty good. I'll leave it like that. Again, you can tweak these for a longer thing. I just, don't want to spend that much time. Just quick and dirty for right now. This is not the right way to do it, but just for the sake of this demonstration. Okay, so it's been about an hour, but so let's just move a little faster here. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my script, and I don't want them bunched up, so I'm going to do a check, make sure that they don't get bunched up. So basically, rather than do it this way, where I just instantiate them blindly, let me do the following. So I'm going to keep instantiating them unless they are colliding. So I'm going to do a do while loop. Sorry, do while. And I'm going to do this while some condition valid equals, oh man, sometimes the autocomplete, so bool valid while valid equals false. Okay, so I'm going to keep repeating this. So what I'm going to do here now is spawn the asteroid in here, right? So I'm going to move, so this is going to be there, and so this is going to instantiate the asteroid, and then I'm going to say valid equals check to close to asteroid, like that. So it's going to check to see if that asteroid is too close to the other asteroids. Okay, the ones that you already have. And let's go ahead and write that. So private bool check to close to asteroid. And game object, test object. I could make it an asteroid, but later I'm also going to use the ship. So I think that's so game object. A couple ways to do this, but here's how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to have a array called asteroids, which is going to get game object, find objects with tag, find game objects with tag asteroid. So I'm going to label them as asteroid when I put them inside. Okay, when I instantiate them. And then, once I have those, I'm going to say for each game object asteroid in asteroids. So I'm going to loop over the ones that I collect. And I'm going to check to see if they are too close together. But before I do that, I need to make sure that they're not the same thing. So if asteroid is not equal to test object, right? Because otherwise I'm going to test against itself. Okay, so let me see here. So I have this function called check to close to asteroid. What is this right here? I have no idea. Let's see. So then I have a game object. I'm going to find objects with tag, and then I'm going to check if they're too close together. Good. So then to check if they're too close together, I can use the distance command in vector 3D, vector 3. So vector 3 dot distance, say test object dot transform dot position, comma asteroid transform dot position. Right, so this computes the distance between these 2 points, and I say, is this less than min collision radius? It's a minimum thing. And if it is, then I'm going to destroy that game object, that test object, and I'm going to return false so that I have to keep, doing it. Else, if I get out of this thing and I go through all of them and there's no collision, I'm going to return true. Okay, so that should do it. Now I need min collision radius, and I need to do a semicolon there. What's going on here? So that parentheses, parentheses, parentheses. Min collision radius. That should be that. Oops, no, not semicolon there because it's a if statement. Sorry. Okay, min collision radius. So I need another serialize field, private float min collision radius, and I'll check this out in a bit. So let's say this is 3.0f for right now. Okay, so I have a min collision radius. Okay, what else do I need to do? So that looks good. Okay, so now we can instantiate test object. This will be test object. Okay, min collision radius. Okay, let's go ahead and try it out. And before I try it out, let me just I'm just going to remove the speed from the asteroid. So let me just for right now, RB velocity equals vector 2, 0, 0 for right now, just so they don't have any velocity. Okay, so that'll make things easier to see. Okay, so let's go ahead and play. Okay, let's see. SAU. Asteroid is not defined. Oh, the tag asteroid is not defined. So when I'm looking at these tags, right, there's no tag asteroid. Okay, got it. So I want to stop this. Okay, so I need to go back to my prefabs, and I click on asteroid, and if you go here, I need to make a tag. There's no tag, so I'm going to just add a tag called asteroid, just for the sake of making it simple. Asteroid, save. So now when I go here, I'm going to go asteroid. So when I prefab that, that's going to be an asteroid prefab. And I could also, for example, do it here. Whenever I instantiate it, I could say new asteroid dot game object dot tag equals asteroid, like that, so that it puts that in. So now when I go here and I go play, there's my asteroids. They're far apart. If I do them, I change this, let's say I make it 0.3. When I go back to here and I run it, see how they're all bunched up, right? They're all much more bunched up. Okay, so that's a little too bunched up. Maybe something like in between, like 2.0. Sounds like a good place to be. Okay, so now I got to do now the same thing for the spaceship. So I need to spawn the spaceship. I'm going to do a similar thing over here. Okay, so private. In fact, I'm just going to copy and paste some of this. Spawn spaceship. What's this guy? Spawn spaceship. Okay, it's going to have the valid. So I'm now going to, I need to have a private game object. It's going to be a pointer to my spaceship there. So I don't need this. So spaceship equals instantiate spaceship prefab. Just like that. And I'm going to label it spaceship. Okay, I'm just going to check this too close to the asteroid in the same way. So I need the spaceship prefab. So I go over here. So I'll copy this. Spaceship prefab. So I go to my game controller. So right there, game controller. Asteroid prefab. Oh, notice how when I reset it, it cleared all my stuff. So I need to bring in this guy again, asteroid. Now, here asteroid doesn't. This is complaining. This one doesn't load it up. Check the spaceship is too close to a thing. All right. It takes a second to load. Okay, now I loaded it. Spaceship prefab, so I can go here. Spaceship. Do that. Okay. So now when I hit play, there we go. Okay, so now just a little bit of debugging to just see how everything is working. So let's go here, and here's what I want to do. I'm going to spawn lots and lots of ships, like 1,000 ships. And I just want to make sure, I'm going to have only one asteroid, and I'm just going to make sure that this radius, collision radius is good to start with. So I'm going to have, let's say, 5 asteroids for right now. And I'm just going to put an outer loop on this for int I equals 0, I is less than 1,000, I plus plus. And I'm going to spawn 1,000 ships. The face that launched 1,000 ships right there. So, and I'm just going to do this check right here. So watch what's going to happen. So I go back to Unity, and a couple things. One thing is I need to add the spaceship tag. So add tag plus spaceship, so that I can write it right as I do it right there. So I can do that. And the other thing, because I'm going to spawn so many, I just don't want to have the physics on. So let me just go ahead and turn off all the physics and stuff. So I'm going to turn off, boom, so it doesn't collide. Okay. So now I'll save it. I'll play. Now it's always initializing the spaceship in the same position. So now let me randomize the position. So like I did in my asteroid class, right? I just want a random position. So let's do transform dot position equals new vector 3 random dot range minus max x random dot range minus max y and 0, like that. And this is set random position. Okay, so now I've got one. Let's go ahead and play. So here's my spaceships, and you see these circles. Those are the circles where I don't have collision, right? That's why I'm avoiding those. So that looks pretty reasonable. So I don't want a ship closer to be spawned closer than that circle. So that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and make it one ship. So my game controller, I get rid of all this garbage. I just spawn one ship. and I can turn on the physics again. So I go to my spaceship prefab, and I turn on the physics, and the asteroid, I turn on the physics, and I should be ready to rock and roll now. So here's my spaceship flying around, and it can literally probably crash into these asteroids. Look, it bounce right off, right? It's pretty funny. Okay, good. So now I can go ahead and put the motions of the asteroids back in. Just going to comment this out because I'll probably do it later. And there we go. I got my ship bouncing around. Oh, it's just picking up speed because it's so tiny compared to these asteroids. It looks a little bit ridiculous. So I'm going to throttle its velocity as well, just like I did for the asteroid. And again, I'm going to hack it, a little bit. I'm not going to do it very accurately, but that's okay. So right before I get to this, let's do it right here. So throttle max speed. And so do I have a max speed component? No, I don't. So I'm going to do private float max speed up here, and I don't know, set it to 5 equals 5f. So realize field, and then for here, if transform. No, is it transform or is it? I'm sorry, it's not this RB. It's RB dot velocity dot magnitude is greater than max speed. Then I'm going to do RB velocity is equal to throttle version. So RB velocity dot normalized times max speed. So that's going to throttle it. Let's see. So if I go on my prefab, I should see in my max speed. There we go. So I hit play. It's got my asteroids bouncing around. Let's see. Let me get hit. Colliding with something. Oops, I'm missing everything. The spinning I wouldn't worry about because I'm gonna explode when I hit. I just want to make sure I throttle the max velocity. And it's still pretty fast. So let me just grab this guy and throttle the speed. Let's do ridiculous. 3, 2. What's a good speed? Yeah, 2 looks pretty good. So I'm going to throttle the speed. 2.0f. And these kind of things need to be play tested, but you understand the idea. Okay. And then the last thing I want to do for right now is so when the when I collide, I want to get destroyed, right? So now I'll actually have a game, because right now I still don't even have a game. So I go to spaceship, and since I set up the collision, I can do on collision enter 2D. I don't know what happened there. That's weird. So on collision, then what I want to do is if collision game object.tag equals asteroid. So in other words, you're colliding against an asteroid. Then I want to just destroy the game object. This will destroy my ship. So let's try that. Boom, the moment it goes. And so here you can see in the hierarchy, I've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 asteroids, because in my game controller I have 5 number of asteroids equals 5. And then when I go to let me just start over. So you'll see that there's a spaceship at the bottom, right there, and once that spaceship is destroyed, boom, it's gone. And so I got that. So already a little bit over an hour now, and I have already a basic game going.
So now we have the capability for the asteroids to damage the ship, to destroy the ship, but now we need to have the ship fight back. So we need to add some bullets. So let's go to our game assets. And I'm going to import the bullet. Now, I can drag it in like I did before, but let me do something a little different this time to show you there's different ways to do it. So I can copy the bullet and go to Unity stuff, asteroids, assets, and this, whatever you put into these directories shows up over here. So I'll put it back in bitmaps here. I'll paste it there, bullet PNG. Then I'll pop back out. Okay, so if I go here and I go to bitmaps, I'll see my bullet there. Okay, so let me go ahead and bring my bullet in. And so I've got a bullet. Now the only thing is that this bullet, let me just put the position right there. So the only thing is this bullet is a little bit kind of round, and I want it to be like a little stretched out or something like that, right? Because I want it to look more like a laser and less like a pellet. So I'm going to scale it out in 1 dimension, like that, 411. Okay, so now it looks a little bit stretched out. I'm actually going to put this in the origin here. Out here. Oops. Middle mouse button. Push down. You can scroll around there, like that. Okay, there's my bullet stretched out. I want to add a couple things to this, so I'm gonna save. I want to add to the bullet. I'm going to add a collision so that it can detect what's going on. I'm going to add a rigid body as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So add component of let's see. Let's do that. Physics 2D rigid body 2D. Okay, and add component physics 2D. In this case, I'm just going to make it a box collider because it kind of looks like a box, like that. So the whole thing will be like a box when it collides. A couple things. So in the rigid body, I want to make the mass pretty small. It's not gonna. So the rigid body, the mass is going to be again really, really small. Whatever the smallest value is. Okay, and no gravity because I don't want bullets to fall. Also, I want to set the collision because they're going to move pretty fast. So I want this to be continuous because otherwise you might miss my little asteroids, right? What this means is how often does it evaluate the collision? So I want it to be evaluated continuously. And then over here in the box collider, I'm simply going to use it as a trigger because I don't want it to do anything other than trigger it. So I'm going to just do is trigger. It's going to trigger the event when it hits. Okay, so that's what I want to do there. And then I'm going to add a bullet script. So again, I can create a script here, but I'm going to just do it on here. So I'm going to say scripts. Let me see. So I'm going to do C# new script, and I'm going to call it bullet. Okay, so I've got bullet script there. Great, so I've got bullets now. Let me save. Let me make the bullet a prefab. So I go to my prefabs. I drag the bullet from here down here. The bullet's prefab. I can remove it from my scene. Delete. All right, so let's first have the spaceship, when you're hitting spacebar, fire off these bullets, right? So let's do that, and then we'll add velocity and stuff to them. Way to do that. So on the spaceship, I'm going to have a prefab on the script here that says bullets. So let's go ahead and go to spaceship. So I'm going to do at the very top. I'm going to top public game object bullet prefab. That allows me to put the game object bullet into that script. So let's see. So bullet prefab. I'm going to stick the bullet in there. Good. So now I can access the bullet class, and then down here where I'm doing my keys. So this is for ship motion. These are git commands. These are ship motion. Right. All these. So make them a little tighter here. And then this is ship firing. So if input get key, and in this case I don't want auto fire where it just, as you hold down space, it just keeps firing. I don't know about automatic fire. I want it to fire every time you hit spacebar. It's just a design choice. It's more like the original. So I'm going to say get key down. So what this means is that every time that you hit the spacebar, you have to put it down, then it fires. And so the one thing I want to do is I want to do a game object. I want to instance, and you instantiate bullet prefab. And then I'm going to say bullet transfer position. So basically what I'm doing is that I'm going to put the position the position of the bullet equal to the position of the ship. Okay, and I could have also, for example, said game object dot transfer position. I could have done it both ways. Okay, it's the same thing. It just accesses this current transfer position. Okay, it's the same thing. So I can do this, for example. Okay, so this is going to instantiate a bullet every time this at the position of the ship. So let's go say what's going on here. So go back, play. So I'm going to move my ship around without blowing up. Bullet, 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 bullet. Okay, good. So it's leaving bullets around. Good. All right. So cool. I'm firing bullets, although they don't look very realistic. So first of all, they're not moving, and they need to be rotated. So let's first move them. So we're going to take the rigid body 2D axis, right? So we need to get that. So I need to do bullet get component. I want to access the rigid body 2D component of that class with that game object. Velocity equals. Okay, so I'm gonna fire it off in the direction of the ship, right? Ship direction times some bullet speed. Okay, so I need some kind of bullet speed at the very top. Sounds like a time for my old handy dandy do it right here. So serialize, handy dandy serialize field. Private float bullet. I don't know, 5. Okay, so it's going to fire off a thing at that velocity. Let's take a look. So when I go to my prefab, the ship prefab, I should now have a bullet speed field. Hit play. Okay, that's a little too slow. Play. Okay, better, but still too slow. Make it 20. Oops, my ship died. Stay alive. Oh, that's better. So 20. That looks pretty good. 20. I'll make it 20. Okay, again, these are all things that you would play test and carefully tweak. I'm just doing it kind of quick and dirty, so I'm not doing that, but you know what I mean. For the proper game project, we would spend some time fine-tuning these parameters. Okay, so now I've got the bullets firing, but the only thing now is that, as you saw, let me show you again, that they're kind of crooked, right? Like they're not aimed in the direction. I need to rotate them around. See how they're, like, no matter how I'm facing, they're facing the, just kind of the same way. So I need to rotate the bullet. So I need to do a bullet transform, rotate. So bullet transform rotation is equal to transform rotation. So I need to rotate like the ship rotates, which I have there. But let me first try this like that. Okay, so I'm going to transform like what the ship rotates. I suspect I need one more thing. But let's see how it's sideways there. It tilted, but it's like sideways. I got like a 90-degree rotation that I got to get rid of. So I got to multiply it by quaternion times quaternion dot Euler 0, 0, 90 degrees, rotates at 90 degrees about the z-axis, so that's good. That's exactly what I want. So now, awesome. Got my ship firing. Cool. It's starting to be a game. An hour and a half into it. Good. All right, let's rock and roll. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is have the bullets actually damage the asteroids. But before I do that, let me show you just one thing. Let me play again. I've got bullets, but I should note that as I fire the bullets, look over here in the hierarchy that they stick around, right? They don't disappear because I'm just instantiating them. I'm not getting rid of them. So I'm just getting bullets, and my whole thing is going to fill up with bullets, and that's not really that cool. So I need to get rid of that, and I also need to have the asteroids take damage, start doing that. So let me go to my, let's see, so I've got assets. The bullets should be in scripts, nicely put away. Let me open it up. So I need to do two things. Get rid of the bullets that are instanced. So I've got my things here. Let's see, so on update, basically when the bullet gets out of the min-max bounds, I need to just destroy it, right? Get rid of it. So let's do that. So I'm going to do private float, and by now I know the bounds, but let me just make them a little conservative, a little bit over. I'm going to make it like 12, and private float max y, I'm going to make it like 7. It's a little bit beyond the edge of the screen, that's okay. Bullet's going to live a little longer. And then if the bullet is outside of that, so if transform position.x is, let's see, so it's let's see, less than minus max x, or I'm just going to do a bunch of these. So I'm going to copy and paste this. Okay, so if transform position is bigger than max x, y is less than max y, and y is bigger than max y. So this is check if bullet has left the screen. And if the bullet has left the screen, I'm simply going to destroy game object. So it's going to destroy myself, right? It's going to destroy the bullet. Okay? Just for the sake of demonstration, let me make this really tight so I can see this. I want to see this effect, so I'm going to make it like this for right now. And let me go ahead and hit play. So the bullets fire a little bit, but they disappear too early, as you can see. So I'm going to do that. Okay, and then the next thing I need to do is check a collision with the asteroid. So I'm going to use, since I set up the trigger, I'm going to say on trigger enter 2D, which is the check against that. And so I'm going to test if I'm colliding with collision dot tag equals asteroid. I'm going to check if I'm colliding with an asteroid, because I don't want to collide against the spaceship. That would be bad. And so if it is, first of all, I'm going to destroy game object. So that's going to destroy what? Not the asteroid, but the bullet, right? And for the asteroid, I'm going to take damage, because I might have a concept of health. Okay? So at the very top of the asteroid, I'm going to have health. So I'm going to say private int health. And I can set this, let's say, to 5. Okay, this is the health of the asteroid. And my notion is that every time you hit it, it's going to take away 1 health, right? For example. So I'm going to go to the function. I'm going to create a function called take damage. So that's going to be public because I need to access it from the other one. Take damage. Right, this is going to be accessible from the bullet class, right? And so the first thing I'm going to do, this one is, so it's going to decrement health of asteroid. And if health gets to 0, then I need to destroy my asteroid, right? So I could just do destroy game object like that, right here, and that's going to destroy my asteroid. But I'm going to have a more complex function. I'm going to have a function called private void die. It's a fun name. And what this is going to do, it's going to actually destroy my asteroid, because I'm going to do other things, like I'm going to have an explosion, I'm going to spawn child asteroids and stuff like that. So I want to do it there. So I want to do something like this. So basically, I take damage, decrement the health. If the health gets to 0, I die, and then it destroys the asteroid. And then I can put stuff like the explosion and the spawning the child asteroids here, so it's not gets too complicated there. All right, so I've got my function there. So now I go back to my bullet class here, and so I need to call that function. Now the thing is that collision right now is of type collider 2D, right? It doesn't have the capability of having all the asteroid methods, so I need to somehow cast it into asteroids. I need that with get component. So I'm going to say asteroid equals collision dot get component asteroid. I'm going to get the component, and now I can go asteroid dot take damage. Okay, so now whenever it hits the thing, it's going to take damage. So let's take a look at that now. So I'm going to play 5 hits, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oop, 5. Well, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. I had hit it before. Let's go to this one here, flying off the side here. Whoops. Or over here. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4. Oh man, I'm so bad at this game. But you get the idea. 4, 5. There you go. So I hit it 5 times. It disappears. No more asteroids. Cool. So now I have the capability of damaging my asteroids. Okay, so now I need to actually destroy the asteroids into smaller groups, right? And if I look at my to-do list, just to keep up with, to-do list. So I've got the spacious bullets. Yeah, asteroids blow up. So basically now I need to do explode the asteroids into smaller bits. So I go back to my asteroid class, and a couple things I need to do. So basically I need to have the concept of how big this asteroid is, right? And I need to have bigger asteroids and smaller asteroids. So let me do public, because I think I'm going to have to access this from other things too to understand a few things here. So I'm going to say public scale. And that's the size of the asteroid. Size of the asteroid, the scale of it. And I'm going to say private int max scale equals 3. So the biggest it can be is 3. At the very top of the awaken method, I'm going to say scale equals max scale. So all asteroids will start off at the full size until told otherwise, okay? And then when I die, I'm going to spawn new asteroids if I am still big. So let's do that. So here, when I die, I destroy the game object. Before I do that, I'm going to do if scale is bigger than 0. So I'm going to be decrementing the scale. Okay. So if the scale is bigger than 0, then I'm going to spawn child asteroids. Okay. Spawn some children for me. Okay. So let's look at what that would mean. So many ways to do that, but in this game, spawn child. I am going to spawn always 4 child asteroids just to make it easy. And I'm going to send them off in 4 directions. Okay, so let me do the following. I'm going to have vector 2, an array of vectors 2, with new directions. For the new directions of the asteroid, just fire them off in these new direction. New direction equals new vector 2 size 4. Okay, so I'm going to make an array size 4 so that I can have 4 directions for the 4 child asteroids. And so new direction 1. I'm just doing it a quick and dirty way. You can do it many ways you want. This is just one way. Just making it up as I go here. Vector 2. This is going to go 1, 0. One, 2, 3. And so this goes to the right, this goes, let's say, up, this goes to the left, and this goes towards the bottom. So I'm going to fire them off in like the 4 cardinal directions, okay? Now, I don't want it to be just like exactly in the 4 directions. That'll look really lame, so I'm going to do a rand angle as well. So I'm going to do float rand angle is equal to random dot range 0 to 360. I'm going to pick a random angle. Okay, that'll pick an angle. All right, and then I'm going to have a loop here for int I equals 0, I less than 4. And usually, I don't like things hard-coded, but in this case, I'm just going to hard-code it. I could have a random number of asteroids being made. That could be also fun, but I'm not going to do that for right now. So game object new asteroid equals instantiate asteroid. Oh, so I need to have that asteroid prefab, which I don't have right now. Let me go ahead and do that at the top. So public game object asteroid prefab, and I need to have no syntax error so I can do that correctly here. So go back here, go to my, where is it, asteroids, and my asteroid prefab. So I need to stick asteroid within. There we go. Okay, that's one way to do it. Okay, so now I can instantiate an asteroid. I'm going to make sure that it's labeled like asteroid with a tag, right? So I say new asteroid dot tag equals asteroid, right? I need to send it off in that direction, right? So new asteroid dot transform. Ooh, first of all, the position equals my position, right? But I do want to give an offset because otherwise they're all going to be instanced right on top of each other. So I'm going to offset them by the new direction, right? So I'm going to do a vector 3 new direction I times some child asteroid offset because it's not necessarily going to be a unit separation. Okay, so I'm going to have an offset that is going to be a programmable thing at the top. So let's go ahead and say private float child asteroid offset. And I'm going to set this child asteroid offset for now, I don't know, let's say 4. I'm making up stuff. So I have a child asteroid. So what's happening here? I'm going to form asteroids, and I'm not firing them off in any way. I gotta basically add some force so that they're off to the side. But for right now, I don't have that. But let's just go ahead and take a look at this. So one thing I'm going to do is adjust the health so that it's 1, so that it doesn't take so long to destroy them. That'll be easier to see. Okay, so let's take a look at it. So basically what I've done is I've added this component here. So when I die, it goes in here. If my scale is greater than 0, it spawns child asteroids. Okay, and it spawns them. So let's take a look. So I do fire. Oops. So you see that it kind of popped out quite big, and let me just try that again. Okay. See, it's popping out quite big, and it's replicating, but it's looking kind of lame. Okay. So a couple things. One thing is it's too big of an offset, but also when I'm popping them off, the asteroids being too big, right? It's just way too big. So I need to make it smaller and all that stuff. So one thing I do need to do is new asteroid. Now change the scale. I can do this way. For example, transform local scale is equal to transform local scale divided by 2. Okay, that allows me to make the asteroid smaller. And then the other thing I need to do is change the scale of the asteroid, right, so that the asteroid is smaller. Now I don't have an asteroid per se here, so what I can do is request a handle. So I can say I'm going to call it asteroid handle. Asteroid handle is equal to new asteroid dot get component. That way I have access to the methods that are in asteroids. That's why I wanted to make scale public, so I can change it from here, because I wanted to reduce its scale. So I wanted to say asteroid handle dot scale is equal to my scale minus 1. So the scale is reduced every time. Okay, so this is going to make the asteroids smaller as I fire them, and at some point they're not going to be spawning anymore. So let's take a look at that. So there. So my offset is way too big, my child offset. So let me just adjust that. So the child offset, say 1. That's better. Okay, now as I get smaller, the child offset still is too much, so I need to kind of adjust it as I go down as well, right? So let me do the following. So if I go to Okay, that should handle that. And just to double clear, I made child offset. Oh, it's a private. So let me just make it public here. So that's going to address that. And I didn't like the way it was looking with the motion, because it's not firing off in these directions. So I'm going to add a force. So let's do that. So basically, right here, I'm going to say rigid body, 2D. Rigid body 2D. Child, I'm going to call it child RB is equal to new asteroid, get component, rigid body 2D. So this is going to get the rigid body information from that. Okay, and child RB equals, dot add force. I'm going to add a force to propel them in that direction. Vector 2, that's vector 3, new direction I times child times some amount, 2. So it's going to fire it off. It's going to force it to go off in some direction. Let's see, I am missing parentheses there. Okay, so what am I doing here? I'm going to fire off the asteroid in that direction. So let's take a look. And by the way, right now I'm not using the ran angle, right? I'm just using these new directions, which is okay. I'm going to randomize it in a moment. Okay. Try again. Okay, a couple things. Once the mass doesn't quite look right, and also it's not. Yes. Okay. So the mass. I need to make the mass child RB dot mass. And so if my asteroids are getting, like I'm assuming they're kind of getting smaller by a factor of 2 with the scale. So if the size goes down by a factor of 2, the mass would go by a factor of 8 because it's a cubic. So I'm going to say my RB.mass divided by 8. Let's take a look at that. Okay, pretty good. And we can see it perhaps a little clearer if I go back to here and go to game controller, and I'm just going to make one asteroid, and I'm not going to have it move. So I go to the top, and I'm going to set the velocity to 0. And now when I hit play, do it again, instance it a little bit better. There we go. And I fire on it. Boom. I get those 4 asteroids. Now, the problem is that... oh, I got sandwich there. That looks good, except it's like too mechanical. So let me randomize it just a little bit, right? Like I had that ran angle, right? So let me do the following. So I take this ran angle. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to perturb the new direction by this random by this angle here. So I'm going to say new direction I is equal to quaternion, Euler, and I'm going to do 0, 0, rand angle times new direction I. Okay, so what this would do is rotate new direction by rand angle. Okay, so it takes the random angle and applies the new direction. So it rotates that whole coordinate system, right? This is like a coordinate system here. It rotates it by that random angle. And I want to write even a little bit more randomness. I'm going to, for each individual one, I'm going to introduce a little bit of randomness, let's say plus minus 30 degrees, like that. Okay? And perturbs it a bit. So that's what I'm doing there. Okay? So what you would get is a more pleasant looking thing, hopefully. Let's take a look. More pleasant effect. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. Alright, so next up, I need to, so I have the asteroids blowing up. Now I need to add explosions for the ships and the asteroids, right? So I'm going to go to Unity. I have it open up here, and I'm going to go to the actual Unity Asset Store. Unity Asset Store, I guess here. And I'm going to look up for some, let's say, FX Fire. Some effects. And this one is a good one. I've used this before, FX, the candle pack. So I would click on Add to my assets. And now you can open it in Unity. Click on Open in Unity. Open. And so it's fetching the packages here. And I'm going to add it to my game. I've used this before. In particular, let's see. So I want to import it. So import. I don't want to import the whole thing because there's a lot of stuff, but I'm going to use these two fireballs here. Let's see, I'm going to just close this here. Let's see. I want to do this one, the B prefab, and the BBB. So I want to do these two. And I also need to get their textures. So the textures and their materials. So I have to make sure I grab those. That's going to be those nice fireballs. One is for the asteroid, one is for the ship. And so I'm going to import. Okay, let's make the ship one first. So see, it's added this directory here with these. So let's take a look at them. I go to prefabs. Let's go ahead and this is the BBB. I'm gonna use them for the ship. So if I just open it up here, let me go back to scene. I get this purple block when I'm looking at this, and for this one the same thing, purple block. And the reason for that is because I don't have the materials, and the rendering stuff is not there. If I look at over here, I have material none, so that's why I had to add the other stuff. So I go back down, fire, materials. I'm going to make this material the BBB one. There you go, that's my nice explosion for my ship. And the same thing for the other one. So if I go to prefabs, this guy, that one is a purple thing. This is the B one. So I'm going to go to materials, and I'm going to go here and put the material in there. There you go. So that's my nice explosion there. Okay, so let's do this guy. Is going to be, the BBB is going to be my ship explosion. So I'm going to bring it over to the to my prefabs directory, and in fact I can arrange it like a list like that. It makes it sometimes easier to see by changing this. Makes it icons, makes it a list. Nice. And I'm going to call this ship explosion. Okay, and that ship explosion is going to have it's going to play whenever my ship explodes, right? And I'm going to have a script. I'm going to add a script to that. So it's got already some of this stuff. Let me condense this down here. It's got a bunch of stuff here, but I'm going to add a component. I'm going to add a new script, and I'm going to call it ship explosion. And the reason I'm going to have a script, because it really doesn't do anything other than explode, but I want it to time out and destroy itself after a while, also play the sound and stuff like that. So create an ad. So now I have a new ship explosion. Okay. So let me go back to my prefabs. get out of this window here. So if I just drag the ship explosion to here, let me just zoom out here. Where am I? Yeah, you see I've got an explosion going on. Great. I'm going to delete this guy. Okay. So now what I need to do is when the ship explodes, when my ship gets destroyed, I need to instance an explosion at that position, right? I need to instance an explosion. So my spaceship does need a pointer to that prefab, and I'll do that on the script. So if I go to my spaceship script, right at the bottom here on the collision with an asteroid, so I'm going to destroy the game object, but right before I destroy it, because I can't destroy it just yet, I'm going to do a game object, game controller, game object, explosion equals instantiate explosion prefab, right? And explosion position, right? So transform position equals transform position. So the explosion is going to happen at the position of the ship. And at the very top, I'm going to do public game object explosion prefab, and over here I'm going to link it together. I'm going to take explosion prefab, I'm going to drag the ship explosion there. So what I've done is when the ship is destroyed, I'm going to instantiate an explosion and do that. So let's take a look at that. Save everything. Okay. Play. So my asteroids are static right now, but that's boom. Okay, so I see there's a problem. Is that thing is just looping and looping and looping. So I got to cut that out. And also I need to destroy that game object after a while. So let's do the second one first. So I need to open up the script for the, let's see, is it still hanging on here? No, is it scripts? So ship explosion. So I need to open that up, and I need to add some timer code, okay? So here's how you do timer code. I'm going to do something called an IE numerator, like right there, I numerator, and I'll call it self-destruct. It's going to be basically a self-destruct sequence, okay? And I just don't want a loop that ties up the game engine, so I'm going to do something called yield return new wait for seconds 3f, let's say. So what this is going to do is going to wait for 3 seconds, but it's going to return the control to the overall thread. It's like basically like spawning a new thread. And after those 3 seconds are up on this thread, it's going to destroy game object, which this game object happens to be the ship explosion. Okay, so this is going to be like a little thread, multi-thread thing. So we're going to start coroutine set self-destruct like that. So after 3 seconds, this thing is going to be deleted. Let's go ahead and try it out. Just going to blink a few times and then fade out. Okay, and you saw it over here as well. Great. So now the only thing I need to do now is in the prefabs is I need to turn off the looping. So when I go here to the the particle system, looping turned off so that it doesn't just keep looping around like that. Now let's take a look. So my ship goes and it explodes. Now let's do the same thing for the asteroid explosion. So I'm going to go here to the Fireball B. This one is what I want to make for the asteroid when it explodes. So we're going to go and copy that into the prefabs. And I'm going to call this asteroid explosion.
Okay, so I need to go through and do the same kind of things that I did for the other one. So I'm going to add a script. So let me just hide this and say add component. I'm going to say new script, and I'm going to call a new script asteroid explosion. Create an add, and in the main window, asteroid explosion goes to scripts. Okay, go to prefabs, asteroid explosion. Okay, and I may be changing some of these aspects of the particle system. In fact, if I play the asteroid explosion, I think it goes a little fast for what I want, so I'm going to make the iteration just a little slower. I'm going to change this to let's say 0.4. It just takes a little longer to explode. That's good. Start size. Looks good. All right, and let's also turn off looping here so that it doesn't loop like that. Okay, so I'm going to save, and then I'm going to invoke that on the asteroid class, right? So whenever the asteroid gets destroyed, it's going to bring that up. So I am going to have prefab there called asteroid explosion. So let me go ahead and start implementing that in the code. So an asteroid, I'm going to have public game object asteroid explosion prefab. Asteroid explosion prefab right here. Asteroid explosion right there. And when I get to the asteroid, we're going to invoke that, right, when we die. So let's go ahead and do that. So, okay, so this is my die routine. So, game object equals instantiate the asteroid explosion prefab. We're going to set the I could do game object transfer position, just transfer position like that. And then later I'm going to muck with the particle system, but I'm not going to just do that just right now, just yet. Okay, so that's good for now. And let me go ahead and play it. Okay, good. But that explosion is a little bit kind of small and lame, so let's make it a little bit bigger. So if we go to asteroid explosion, I'm going to go start size, and I'm going to make it bigger here. Good. Now the problem is that when they get little, you don't want to have such big explosions with those little guys, right? Doesn't seem kind of cool. So let's go ahead and adjust that. So what that means is we need to access all that stuff on the particle systems and adjust it. Let's go ahead and do that. So asteroid explosion get component particle system. So we're going to get the particle system, and let's call that particle So I'm going to get the particle system. Now before you start changing stuff in the particle system, you got to just stop it. I believe that's what you always have to do before you start mucking around with the parameters. And then the way to change them, you can't just directly change them. You got to do this little trick with var main equals part sys.main. You access this main variable, and then you can change that. then you can say main dot start size. Okay, unset size. So here's what I want. So when I first begin, so my scale is 3, and I don't want to touch. I think that 4 size is good. But when the scale changes, I want to basically just set it to scale. So let's just do that. So I'm going to do if scale is less than 3, so that's going to scale it up, or I'm sorry, scale it down as it gets bigger, right? Because the scale will decrease, and so that'll make it like that. And when we get to 0, I don't want the scale 0 because then there's not going to be any explosion. So I'm going to say and scale is bigger than 0. And then here this else if should be, yeah, I can really do an assert, but that's fine. Scale equals 0. Main start size equals some minimum value. So that's going to make the thing smaller as I do that. And then I'm also going to change the simulation speed, because I want the smaller one to be faster. So I'm going to start 1, and as it gets lower, I'm going to, increment that up. So make it like much faster. So to do that, scale goes down, so I need to do max scale minus scale. So that's a number that at the biggest number it's 0. And then if I multiply that, or just add 1 to this, let's see. So basically when scale equals max scale, which is the biggest, right, 3, 3, this cancels out, I get 1. But then as this goes down, so you get 1, so you get 0, so that's 1. Then you get 2, so it's twice, 3 times. Okay, so this will work here to make it small, to make it faster. And then part sys play to restore it. Like that. Okay, so let's just go check it out. Right there. Cool. Let me just... Okay, one thing I want to change though is that the explosion from the asteroid is a little too extreme now that I see it. So that's happening here. And I'm adding the force. Let's and child asteroid offset gets smaller. So maybe if I square that, because I feel like the force is a little too much. Let me just experiment with that. So I've got some things bouncing around good. Let me make it a little bit less, because I think it's bouncing around a little too much still. Okay, let me try making this a cubic. Quick and dirty.
better. And that looks pretty good.
Now the last thing to take care of for this is the fact that the asteroid explosions don't get cleaned up, because right now they're sticking around. So I need to basically add the timeout code like I did here. So I'm actually we're literally going to copy this here. Copy, and then let's go ahead and open up the script. Asteroid explosion. And so I'm going to add the self-destruct code. Start coroutine, which is like a multi-threaded thing, and self-destruct. Okay. And in this case, I'm just gonna, because some of the ones are a little bit slower, I'm gonna make it 4 seconds. Now, note how I'm doing this from the start function, because I want it to happen in the first frame, not just when it's instanced. So that's when I'm starting the timer. So now these should basically time out after a while. Let's take a look at it. Let me just move it over here so I can see the stuff going on. So the asteroid explosions clean up. And all I'm left are with these clones. Now you see all this kind of nasty looking stuff here. If I wanted to clean that up, all I need to do is name them, because those are the names. So let's go ahead and clean it up a little bit. I mean, I know I'm trying to do things quickly, but there's also room to do things in the right way. So I can do it literally when it's instanced. So I could say game object dot name equals asteroid. I could do it there. In fact, all the tag stuff that I did, rather than doing it here, you know, I could do it right at the top there. So why don't I do that? No, I can. Let me do that. Game object tag equals asteroid, like that. And so now I can get rid of it here, and in my game controller script here. It's a little cleaner. Okay, always writing cleaner code's better. So now I can I also may want to clean up the ship and the bullets, but you know. So see how everything is now very nicely. I could even code what the level is of the stuff. So yeah, that's actually starting to be playable. A couple hours into it. Okay. So I'm going to clean a little bit more up here. So the explosion, I'm going to do this in awake. So I'm going to set game object like that. And in the spaceship, okay, that should be good. Okay, so now what's left is starting to make this into a real game by making, giving you the signal when the game's over, when you clear the level, and so on. And in fact, I think that's following these things. So we did explosions, and now it's lives, game over, and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and do that. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to start adding some graphics here to the screen, some stuff here. So let's make some. So I'm going to go UI, and I'm going to do Text Mesh Pro, which allows it to be crisp text, no matter what the scale is. So I'd like to do that. You may have to import TMP into your project. Import TMP extras. Why not? Let it sit there for a bit. It's going to chug away while it brings this up. So let's make a text. Let's call this the game over sign. So name game over. The text is going to say game over. So it's a big game over right now. And a couple things here. We're going to so I wanted to sort of match the screen here. So just give me 1 second here. So this is the canvas that's going to do all the graphics interface kind of stuff. And let's just make sure. Let's see. So the let's make screen space camera and apply this camera in there. So now our overlay is going to match what we have on our screen, so that makes it a little easier. And then I'm going to take the game over sign and I'm going to move it so that it's kind of oriented about the middle there. I'm going to center it. I'm going to make the font bold, and I'm going to make it a little bigger here. I think that looks pretty good. So that's the game over sign. Okay, so let's play that. Okay, so I've got a nice game over sign in front of the stuff actually behind. I'll move that in a second here. Okay, so let's stop. So to move it behind, if I go to the canvas and I'm going to make it order layer 1, let's try that. And actually the plane distance, I'm going to make it 1 as well. I think this will force it to be kind of in the front. Because that, yeah, good. So I want the game over sign in the front. That looks pretty good. That's a good size. And let me start thinking about how I'm going to control this. So let's go over to my game controller script. And I'm going to have a private game object game over sign. So now I'm going to do it a slightly different way. So I could have tried making it public and sticking it with the editor, but now I'm going to do it a slightly different way. So I'm going to have a game over sign thing here, and when I initialize the level, I'm going to go ahead and find that and set it. So first I'm going to do it here in the awake function when it's first initialized. So I'm going to do game over sign is equal to game object dot find. It's going to find the game over object and stick it in there. Okay, and then in the initialize level, I just want, right before I'm done here, is hide the game over sign, right? Because I don't want to see that. So game over sign is equal to, I'm sorry, dot set active false. Okay, so I'm going to get the game over sign and make it inactive. So let's take a look. I should probably either assert that it's not null or make sure that it's not null. So why don't I do that just to show you. So I would do assert is not null game over sign, so that it throws an assert if I haven't declared it there. Okay, so now when I play, there's no game over sign. Good. Okay, so there's no game over sign. So
Now, what's the game over condition? The game over condition is when there's no lives. So let's start introducing the concept of lives, right? I'll do it right here. So private int num lives left, and private int max lives. So the way I'm going to play it, and there's many ways to do this, but I'm going to have 4 lives. 1 is the current ship, and there are 3 backup ships. So I'm going to show 3 life icons. That's for 3 backup ships. So you have 4 lives total. The 1 you currently have plus 3 more. So that's how I'm going to play it. So right at the beginning, when I awaken, I'm going to say num lives left is equal to max lives. And then every time that I spawn a ship, I'm going to remove one of my lives. So right at the bottom here, I'm going to do num like that. Okay? So the game ends when all my lives are gone, right? That's the game end situation. Okay? But before I get there, I need to kind of take care of respawning the ship, because right now when my ship is gone, nothing really happens. So I need to take care of that. So there's a lot of things, little things to do here. So I'm going to do that in the update, which right now in the game controller I don't really do anything. But I'm going to first check to see if spaceship has died. Okay? And if the spaceship has died, if num lives left, how come it's not auto-completing? That's really weird. Probably there's a bug somewhere. If num lives left is bigger than 0, then spawn okay, so let's do this. There's probably some bugs somewhere. Compiler error, yeah. Num lives left. Well, I wrote mum lives. Sorry, it's a little small on my screen. Num lives left and spawn ship. Oh, I called it spawn spaceship. Okay. So what's going to happen is the moment that I die, it's going to check to see. Oh, wait a minute. So this is always this is just in the update loop. I gotta check if the spaceship is still there, right? So if this is checked to see if the spaceship has died, and this is check to see if you have lives left, right? That's what I'm doing. Sorry, just coding real time here. Okay, so basically I check to see if my spaceship is null, and then I keep spawning. Okay, spawning spaceships. But I have to be a little careful with the asynchronicity of all this, because I don't want to be just hitting this and just spawning new ships and stuff like that. So I'll have to be careful about that. But I think for right now, this won't be a problem. And if I don't have any lives left, then the game is over, right? So game over sign dot set active true. Okay, so I set the thing to active. Let's just see how this is doing. Okay, so I hit play. Let me go to game controller, and I'll see the debug mode, so I can see num lives left. I have 3 lives left. Good. So now let me just fly around. Let me shoot some stuff here, so break up that thing. Okay, good. Here's a part. I'm going to crash right into this asteroid. Boom. So my num lives left is 2. I respawned. Good. Now, I probably want to have a little bit of gap of time to have me appreciate the death, because right now it just appears instantaneously, and I'm still even dying on the other side. And then when none life left, so I have 1 life left. So at this next crash, I'll have 0 lives left, and then the next crash will give me the game over sign, right? So I'm flying around. Oh, I can't seem to crash. There we go, crash. There's my last ship. I don't have any more lives left. And boom, game over. Okay, cool. Game over sign. No more ships. No more lives left. Cool. So a couple things. One thing is I want to have a little bit of a pause when the ships before the next ship spawns, right? Because I don't want it just to kind of do it so quickly. So what I can do is do the following. When the ship dies, I can start a timer, and then have the timer, when it gets to a certain amount, then it enters this, okay? So why don't we do that? Now, there's again, many ways to do that, but let's do that. So I'm going to have a variable here called time died. So for times, you're going to use floats. And this is going to store the time the ship died, okay? And when I have a spaceship, I need to be able to access it. So actually, I better make it public. Okay, so I have a public. So I spawn the spaceship, and so in my spawn spaceship routine, okay, I better make a connection between this game object, that's the game controller, and the other one, so I can set it from there. Does that make sense? So when I spawn the ship, I'm going to say in the spaceship class here, I'm going to have public game object game controller. In fact, let me make it game controller so I don't have to recast it. Okay. And I'm going to make this private, because I'm going to have a function to access it. So, and I'm going to have a public function. Let's see, you pass in the game controller, and I'm going to say like that, the game control, so this needs to be lowercase. Sorry, it gives, I don't know why it did that. And this guy needs to be like that. So basically I have a game controller pointer, and it's going to set it there. So if I go to my game controller logic over here, when I spawn the ship, I'm going to do spaceship get component because spaceship is a type of game object, right? So it doesn't, you can't make the spaceship call, so I'm just casting it. This is the way to kind of cast it into a spaceship class. And set game controller this. So I'm going to set the thing there, okay? So once I've done that, then when this guy dies, right, where it explodes, let's see, so it destroys right here, then I can start a timer, right, using that command. I can start the thing, so I can say time died, game controller, time died equals time dot time. So that'll keep track of the time when I died. And so now I can go to my loop here where I have the update loop, right? If there's no spaceship, then I can check my time to see if the respawn time has happened, right? So I can have some respawn time of a few seconds. So let me have private float respawn time. I'm gonna make it 3 seconds. So now when I get to my this function here, what I'm going to do is, if the spaceship is not around, I'm going to first test let's see, so I'm going to take time.time, so the current time, minus time died, and if that's bigger than respawn time. So I'm only going to do this if it's bigger than respawn time. Okay? So, in other words, once the spaceship is no longer, I'm going to wait for a certain amount of time. This time died has been set by my spaceship class. When it dies, it sets the time died, right? And so then when I go back to the game controller, so time died, and then I will respawn. Okay, so that'll pause for a little bit before the thing continues. Okay, so let me just try that. Okay, let's go. Okay. Crash into this again. Boom. 1,002, 1,003, 1,000. There we go. And I crashed out. I was down there at the bottom. Okay, that's pretty good. So it doesn't pop up right away, so it gives you a little bit of pause. Okay, so now let's work on adding the life icons so that I know how many lives I have. So first, let's go here, and I'm just going to duplicate the game over sign and call that lives. And then here, instead of game over, I'm going to say lives. And I'm going to make it much smaller in terms of the font size. I can't see it right now because I was in debug mode, so I switched back to normal. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to make the font size much smaller. I'm going to make it left justified, and then I'm going to take this and move it over here. Okay. So that's a little too big for what I want. Maybe something like, just adjust this box here. Still maybe a little too large. We can make it a little bit better. So maybe something like this. Okay. Let me just see how that looks on the screen. Okay, that's pretty good. Lives. And let's go ahead and let me just move it just slightly over. And let me start putting some life icons in there. So what I'm going to do is go to my bitmaps, and I'm going to use the spaceship bitmap as a life icon. So I'm going to drag it into the canvas, and I'm going to put it right in this hierarchy here, and I'm going to call it life icon, and I'm going to make 3 of them, so I'm going to call it life icon 1 for right now. I'm going to make it much smaller. Okay. Got something like this. Okay, maybe that could look good. Let me go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, good, but right now it's underneath the asteroid. Yeah, and I want it to be above it. That's pretty good though. So I'm gonna select the life icon, and I'm just gonna lower it a little bit. So to make sure that they are all showing up in the right layer, I'm gonna make this the UI layer. Okay, let me go ahead and play again. So let's see. Actually, let me just make more asteroids so I have more junk around. So I'm going to go to my game controllers, add more asteroids back in. Say 12. That should give me more stuff to play with. I'll add the motion back in a bit.
Okay. Good, so I've got now more asteroids there. So hopefully now, nope, it's still going in front of those icons and I want them to be in the back. Oh, the position here, I just need to make sure that that's not so big. Make it 1. I think that should be it. Okay. It's playing. So this guy, yeah, so that's in front. Good, good, so that's working. Okay, so now I'm going to just duplicate this guy. Okay, first let me just put him in a proper position, say this. Okay, now I'm going to duplicate him. We'll move him up and make this guy number 2. And then this guy number duplicate. Make this guy number 3. Okay, so number 2 we're going to scoot over. Well, see, like this is moving all around. I always want to move horizontally, so I control Z again, and then I just drag it from here. Okay, this looks like a pretty good separation, so I'm going to make it 4, 7. If I do like this, that's pretty good. So the number 1 was 26 to 74. Should make it easy to calculate. We can make it 76 like that. Good. So number 1 is 26 to 76. So they're 50 apart. So this guy has to be approximately 50 apart from that one. So number 2 is at 76. So plus 50, 76, 5, 26. Right? So now, oops, these guys 426. Okay, that looks pretty clean. And let's just play that and see how it looks on the screen. Okay, they're just running a little bit into the side of the screen, so I might scoot them all over here. Okay, let me just scoot things just a little over here. And I'm going to also do the, I'm actually going to move this up and scoot everything over just like that. Okay, so that's cool. It's blowing stuff up. Now, right now when I respawn, I'm not using up one of these lives, so I need to kind of do that. So what I need to do in the game controller class is have a field. Actually, get rid of this guy. I still have it there. I need to have a field. We'll go to the top, called public game object, and I'll do an array this time for life icons. So I could do it through here. Let me just do it in the inspector just to show you how that would be. So I go to my prefabs. Let things refresh, load. Prefabs. Oh, actually, no. Game controller. I don't have a prefab. Okay, so I have life icons. If I click in here, it says size 0 because it hasn't been. So I'm gonna make. It hasn't been initialized. So I'm gonna make 3. Return. It's gonna have 3 elements. So I'm gonna make it. This one goes there. This one goes to the second slot. and this one goes to the third slot. So now I have those three icons are pointing there. And so all I'm going to do is very simply when I die is, so let's see, I have num lives is set to initially to 4, right there. And then every time I spawn a ship, I take 1. In the very first initial level, I don't remove an icon, and that's fine. But I do, when I spawn ship, reduce the number of lives left, right? So right at the beginning, I have 3. Okay? And so when I respawn, when I die right here, right, that's when I need to go through and simply remove one of the icons, right, because I've died. So right after I spawn the spaceship, I'm going to update life icons. So I'm going to destroy life num like that. Okay, that's very simple. So just going to destroy them. You can hide them, but why not? I like destruction. So boom, 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 boom. I've got 3 lives. Or I'm sorry. So I've got number of lives left is 3. Now I died. Respawn. Good. That goes down there. Maybe it could have sound effect or something like that. Boom. I die. So now I've got 2 ships left. Now I've got only 1 ship in backup. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. I only got 1 ship left. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Game over. Awesome. Awesome blossom. Now we need to do the same kind of thing, but now when the level is cleared. So let's, same thing as game over. So basically I'm going to make a new sign called level cleared. And this is when the asteroids are all destroyed. Exclamation points there for the gamer. Level cleared. Okay, let me just make it look a little prettier here. So level cleared needs to be level cleared. I think it's too small. It's too big. Okay, right there. Level cleared. Good. And save. And in the spaceship, we're going to again add it. No, I'm sorry, not in the spaceship, in the game controller. So game over sign. Level cleared sign. And level cleared sign. Gonna look for level cleared. And we're gonna hide level cleared sign. Level cleared sign. Level cleared sign. Okay, let me just comment this out for right now, just to double check the sign. It should look pretty good. Bring it back. We can switch. Playing. So there's the level clear sign. Okay, so I can play stuff, but that level cleared sign is there. Okay, good. So I go to and make it. So if I do Control K, Control U, uncomment it. That's what you do for large chunks of code. And then I got to go down to the part where so I have a sign. Now I need to down here. So basically, let's take a look at this code. So in my update loop, I check if my spaceship died, and this is sort of like the end, respawn or game end conditions. But now I need to see if I won. No more asteroids. So if num asteroids equals 0, then I do some stuff. Okay, this is one way to do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So num asteroids. First of all, I don't think I'm impacting when the asteroids are being destroyed. So I start off with num asteroids, let's say 12. But I don't think I touch that again. So when I'm killing them, right, when the asteroids die, right in this die routine, I need to be updating the number of asteroids, right? So right before I destroy it, right here, right, I need to update the number of asteroids. Okay, and also here, update the number of asteroids. So this is plus 4 because I'm adding 4, and this is minus 1 because I'm destroying 1. Right? That's the idea. So I need some way to talk to that function. So what I'm going to do in the game controller is I'm going to make the number of asteroids public. Again, it's a little bit of a hack. I should really have setter functions, but I'm trying to do this under 3 hours, so doing it quick and dirty. So num asteroids, and I just need to make sure that when I instance an asteroid, I have a way to point to this game controller. So let's do that. So let's do at the top private game controller. Okay. And so when an asteroid, I just need a function that says set game controller, just like I did for spaceship, I believe. So, or was it? Where did I? Oh yeah, right here. So I just need to do the same thing. So whenever I instance an asteroid, I'm just going to call set controller. So for example, here where I spawn asteroid, right there, instantiate new asteroid. So that's a game object. So I got to do get component asteroid set game controller to this, right? Just to get that. And I probably need to do the same thing when so that's one place where I instance, and then another one is when I have the kids. So the kid asteroids, right? So spawn child asteroids instantiate right here, a new asteroid, so I can stick it somewhere in here. So new asteroid, get component asteroid, set game controller, and not to this, but in this case, game controller, like that. So now everybody points back to the game controller. Okay, and once I do that, then when I die, I can actually literally access that number now. So I can say game controller dot num asteroids minus equals 4, and in this case minus equals 1. Okay, let's go ahead and try it out. So I can in fact, let me see. So in the game controller, I have 12 asteroids right there. So now let me so now num asteroids is 7. That's not right. So let me see. So I start off with 12. When I kill one, so it should be 11, but I add 4, right? So it should be 15. So it's not getting updated correctly. Let's take a look. And am I getting an error message? I'll look here at the bottom, see if I have something right. Because sometimes the thing keeps playing. Okay. And see, at some point, -3. Okay, that's no good. In fact, it should never be a -3. So I should probably have caught that. A couple things, and I know what the problem is, because I'm stupid. I'm just going to do an assert is true. Num asteroids is greater than or equal to 0, right? It never be negative. So that's just stupid programming. I'm trying to rush. So the stupid bug is when I spawn new ones, it should be +4. No. Okay, so if I shoot one, I get 15. Good. Good. 18. Good. 20. If I kill the little ones, then those should 19. Good. Okay. So just to debug the level clear, because that's going to get real complicated real fast, let me make one asteroid. So I'm going to set this to 1. Have the asteroids all take 1 hit and no spawning of kids, right? No spawning of kids. So 1 health. And then when they die, I'm just going to comment all this out. So I do Control K, Control C. So it just kills, kills it without spawning. So that should be very easy to debug. It's hard for me to clear the level. So I hit play. There's a lot of asteroids here. So basically, oh, I see, because num asteroids is I need to reload it. It's using the number from here before. So I need to stop this, go to asteroid, or excuse me, game controller, and I need to, so this is going to be kind of annoying. This is kind of annoying because I need to reset all this. When I reset, look, I lost all my stuff here, so that's annoying. The right thing to do, kids, is to don't make this public so it doesn't have this kind of crappy problem. So now I need to put my asteroid prefab back, my spaceship prefab back. I need to do my size of 3 for my life icons. I need to put them back. What a waste of time. So much for coding fast. When you do things quick and dirty, you pay the price. And then I pressed, and I have to, when I move it back to something natural, it's going to be. Okay, boom. Okay, so now this number of asteroids is 0, but I don't have a termination condition here. So let's go and game controller. I gotta fill this in with something here. So now let's go ahead and do the level cleared sign. So I want to do level cleared sign dot set active true. So this will, but you know what? I just don't want to finish the game. I want to like restart it with a more number of things. So if I just do this, let me just play that and show you guys. Kill my asteroid, level clear. Cool, level clear. But then that, I don't want that just to be the end. So what I want to do is I want to pause for a bit after the level cleared, let the player celebrate, and then start the game again. Okay? So I need some conditions, like whether the game is actually finished and all this stuff. So here's what I'm going to do. Many ways to do this, but here's one way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to have a game finish condition. Okay? And
And this game finish condition at the very beginning is game finished, and that's going to start off as false. And then I'm going to have another boolean called, let's call it game 1, for lack of a better term, false. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 flags, and watch what I'm going to do. So game finished, the instant you cleared the level, that's going to be set to true. And once the respawning is initiated, then game 1 will be initiated, so that we don't keep doing it. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So I have game finished. So I check if the number of asteroids is 0. Okay, and if it's I entered game finished, then I'm going to do some stuff. But if I haven't, so in other words, if the asteroids is 0, but I haven't declared game finished, then I need to declare the game finished. So I know when the game finished equals true, and then I'm going to set my timer. Okay, so finish time is equal to time.time. That way the timer will start when the game finishes. Okay, so basically the moment it hits 0, this is going to be false to begin with, and it's going to go in here and set that finish time. So at the very top I'm going to have private float finish time. Okay, great. So now once that is set to true, is going to come in here, and that's when I do the if time.time minus finish time is bigger than some time. So maybe the respawn time, or maybe a little longer than respawn time, so I'll make it respawn time times 2. And so if once it waits for a little bit, and then it declares level cleared. Okay, level cleared. Actually, just respawn time. I think that's good. So basically, it waits the respawn time, and it says level clear. So now the game finished equals false, so that we don't keep coming in here and setting this active and active and active and active and active. I don't want this to keep going here. But I can also do a game 1, so that I know that the game 1 condition is true. And in fact, I don't even want to go in here, right? Because I don't want to say if it's false, then it's going to go here and set another finish time and stuff like that. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to say as number of asteroids is 0, and game 1 equals false. So as long as the game is not 1, then it goes in here. And then the last thing I want to do here is start a coroutine that does a timer. So a pause coroutine, a pause state, pause. So I'm going to go down here and have a function called enumerator. Nope, enumerator. Do that again. Enumerator. Pause. Yield. Return. It's going to pause for a few seconds. Wait 4 seconds. Maybe. So this is how long that screen shows up. This level cleared screen, right? So that level cleared screen, let's say, is for 3 seconds. And then once I've done that, I'm going to do let's see, num asteroids equals what? So I need to do oh, I see. So I need to have a different number. So right here I only have num asteroids, but I really need to have a max asteroid. So public int max asteroids equals 1, let's say. Okay, I'll change this. And this, I don't do it like that, but rather when I initialize the level, I set the num asteroids to be equal to the max asteroids.
Okay. Num asteroids is equal to max asteroids. So that's up to 1. And then here, what I do is before I initialize max asteroids equals max asteroids times 2. So I always double the number of asteroids every level. And I can do whatever. I could do 1.5 or whatever and then make sure that I floor it. I could do something like that. So just one thing that maybe I don't want more than a certain number. So let's say if max asteroids is bigger than, say, 16, max asteroids is equal to 16. Okay, I just force that so it doesn't, you don't get like combinatorial. So then I'm going to initialize level. So what this does is it hits this thing, it shows the level cleared sign true. It's going to pause, it's going to call this and pause for like 3 seconds. It's going to double the number of asteroids and then get to work. Back to initializing the level. Initializing the level up here is going to spawn new asteroids, spawn the ship, and set all the signs to the inactive, I'm sorry. And also I just need to clear the win level so it doesn't go back. So game finished equals false and game won equals false, right? I just need to set those. And then the last thing I need to do, let me think about it here. So initialize level. Oh, so I have a ship already, and then I'm going to initialize a new ship. So I better destroy the ship. It's a little bit of a hacky way to do that. So destroy spaceship, because I am then putting it back. When you destroy something, it's not necessarily null. So maybe I can do this kind of thing, especially if over here, when I'm instantiating, I should probably do an assert. Assert is null. Right. I gotta make sure that the ship is null when you're getting there. And so I do that, and then when I initialize the level, I use up one ship and I take off a life. So I need to account for that, like that. Kind of hacky, but it's okay for quick and dirty. All right, not for the final game. You'll go crazy if you're doing this kind of stuff. Okay, so there we go. I think that's set. So basically, after I destroy the asteroid, wait for 3 seconds. Let me wait. Yeah, that's fine. Let me go ahead and play. Non-invocable member, wait for seconds. Oh, I gotta say new right here. It's kind of a weird command. Okay. Okay, so I have one asteroid, max asteroids 1, num asteroids is 1. I'm going to fire on it. It's going to wait for a few seconds, then give me the level cleared. 1, 2, 3 seconds later. Now I have 2 asteroids. Boom and boom. Oh boy, this is an exciting game. Level cleared. Now it's going to have 4 asteroids. Boom, boom, and boom. And oops, I can't seem to get it because of the angle. And I come over here, boom. So, level cleared. Now I have 8. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, you get the point. Cool. So the last thing I need to do right now, I think, and it's pretty much it. Let me see my to-do list. Oh, I need to do the score and the audio. So yeah, I was going to think it's only score, but I have to do the audio, so I have sound effects, because right now this is kind of lame. So let's do the score quickly, because I'm running out of time here. I got to go. So I'm going to go over here, and first I'm going to pause it so it's not. And I'm going to add a new field here. I'm just going to duplicate the lies and I'm going to call it score, and then I'm going to scoot it over. I don't want to do it that way because it's not going to be a line, so I'm going to just, there you go, that's better. Elegant. And I am going to initialize it for right now with just a bunch of zeros like that. Okay, so that's the way it's going to look. And so then in my game controller, I'm going to access this and I'm going to change the text of it. Okay, and so in order for me to do that, I need to have on this text here, I'm going to make a new script called score. Create an add, and just clean it up in my project. So assets score goes into scripts. I don't know what it's doing. Building. Don't know why it did that. Score, there we go. And in the game controller, I'm going to create a pointer to that score text so that I can change it. So I'm going to do private int my score and private score text. That's going to be a pointer to that scoring function. Okay, and when I initialize the when I first awaken the thing, the game controller. So I'm going to set, well, I already did that there, but I'm going to do it here again. My score is 0. And I'm going to bring in the score text here. So score text equals find object of type. In this case, I'm going to do a find object. I could have done similar to what I did over here. I'm just doing a different way, just to show you. And I'm going to find an object of type score. Okay, I'm going to bring that, and I'm going to say something like this. Now, the reason I did object of type is because this actually returns a thing of type score. Whereas if you did game object, it would return a game object, and then you have to do a get component to get the score. If you recall what we've been doing, right? So what I need is in the score function, right? It's just I need an ability to update that score, right? So let me get pointer to my text. So private. So the way to access the text in this case, because I'm using Text Mesh Pro, is this thing called Text Mesh Pro U GUI score text. So when I awaken, I'm going to say score text is equal to game object get component text mesh pro GUI, like that. And then I'm going to have a public void update. I was going to call it update score, not update my score. That's kind of lame. Score text dot text equals. So this is where that score is passed in, but I need to convert it to a string. And also, I want to format it with lots of zeros so it looks nice and video game-ish. So let's do something like this, right? Like that, let's say. So that's going to do that. I don't need these other ones, so I'm going to get rid of them. And so here in score, in the game controller, I just need to make sure I say update score, like that. Hopefully that goes over. Good. And then I need capability for increasing the score, okay, by some amount when I do something good, like destroy. Let's say I'm just going to score points when I destroy an asteroid. So I'm going to have public void increase score, and that's my score plus I get 10 points per asteroid. Score text dot update score, my score. And then all I just need to make sure is when I'm killing an asteroid, right, when you kill an asteroid here, you do game controller increase score. All right, when an asteroid dies, you increase the score. So let's do the play test of that. Wow, this looks kind of lame. Let me just fix that. Too many zeros. I killed 2 zeros. And just a tip, probably somewhere I should check that the score does not max out the max integer that I can do here. So these are kind of things that I'm going to skip just because I'm trying to keep this short, as short as possible. But you obviously need to do that in a real game. Okay. So now when I shoot it, look at the 10. Level cleared. Boom. Ooh, where's the other asteroid? See, they're not moving around, so they don't wrap it. Oh, there we go. 30. Level cleared. So now I've got scoring system. Let me go ahead and start bringing stuff back into the game here. So let me just bring in, so let's set the initial number of asteroids a little bit more exciting. Let's make it 2 at the beginning. So go to game controller and make that 2 asteroids at the beginning. And then also have the asteroids spawn their kids. So I select this, Control K, Control U. So now, and then the last thing I want to do is for the asteroid class, I want to actually set them with a velocity. Because that's, oops. Okay. Now the game will be more interesting. So this is pretty much almost all done except for sound. A little bit over 3 hours, unfortunately. A little too slow, too much talking. It's hard to talk and code at the same time, to be honest. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Oof, got killed. Oof, got killed. This is a hard game. Boom, from the hit. Bigly. There are all these little ones left. Let me see if I can clear the board here. Look at that, not doing too poorly. So other things you could add, for example, is a high score, so that it actually saves out a proper high score. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, so that's game over. Game over. Okay, so the last thing left is to do some audio. The way that sound works in Unity is that you have a main camera that has an audio listener. And so it's almost like, think of it like this is like the player, right? The camera is the player. And so whatever, if this listener's on, then whatever sounds are being made, if this guy's listening, then that's what you're going to hear through the speakers. And the reason it's done this way is because in a 3D game, You might imagine that the camera's moving around, and therefore some things are further away than other things, so things will, be softer and things depending on how far they are away. So that's why they have this kind of concept of an audio listener. For 2D games, it doesn't really matter. So what we need to do is, for each of the things that is going to make a sound, we need to add an audio source so that the audio listener can listen to it. So let's start off with the ship and add some cool, for example, the laser sounds and the thruster sounds, so we can do those kinds of sound effects. So if we go to the spaceship prefab, I'm going to add a component, and that component is going to be an audio source. Okay, and I'm going to leave these settings here for right now. Later on, maybe we can discuss how these are all done, but for right now, I'll leave it there. Actually, I'm just not gonna play on wait, because there's not gonna be anything to play when the ship comes up. Okay, and then the other thing I'm gonna have in my spaceship class, I'm going to add some fields where I can enter these sound effects. So let's do audio stuff. Oops, not in the asteroid class, in the spaceship class, sorry. So I'm going to do private audio source. Okay, that's going to be the pointer to the audio source. Then public audio clip shooting sound FX. And then I'm also going to do the thruster, the thrusting sound. Okay, so I've got those two sounds, and right at the top, I can also do here game object.tag. I forgot to do that. Can delete it in-game controller here. Okay, back. So right here, I'm going to say audio source is equal to get component audio source, like that. So I'm going to get the audio source. Okay, so all this does is loads the audio source so that the spaceship can be ready to be an audio source. And then we're going to put some clips in there, and then we're going to play them. So when we are firing right here, we're going to play the firing sound. So right here at the top, I'm going to say audio source play, and in this case it's just a one-shot sound, so I'm going to just play this one shot. It's called play one shot. Shooting sound FX, just like that. Okay, let's just go test this. Now when I come here, remember I need to fill in these shooting FX sounds, right? So we need to do that. So let me go over here, go to spaceship, and you see I've got these spaces now for shooting effects and thrusters effects. So let's bring in our sounds that we imported, or did we not import them? Oh, I guess we didn't import them. So let's bring them in. So go to the Asteroids thing, game assets. So again, I can copy them. Explosion. I'm going to go ahead and bring them all in. So I'm going to just drag them in. There we go. And so for the prefab spaceship, I'm going to put a shooting effects and thrusters effects. So for the shooting, I'm going to use the laser sound. That's a cool sound. And for the thrusters, I'm going to have thrusters. Okay, let me play. Awesome. See, every time I'm hitting spacebar, I'm instancing, right? Oof, the game looks a lot more alive when I do that. Just going to get rid of one of the zeros here because it's still kind of annoying to be so many zeros there. So that's done, and then I'm going to add the thruster sound. So I'm going to go into score and delete one of those zeros because that's too many. And then the thruster sound. So let's do the thruster sound.
So this is the thrust here. Okay, now if you think about it, so I want the thrusting sound to continue going on while I'm thrusting. I don't want it to go in and out or just keep repeating it. So I don't want to do it on the this get key. I want to do a get key down. I want to turn on the thrusting sound, and in get key up, I want to turn it off. Right? That's really what I want to do. So here, I want to say if input get key down, and the key is the thrust key, right there. Then I want to play the audio sound. Okay. So I'll tell you. So this is play thrusting sound, and then I'm gonna keep playing that thrusting sound. So even if this is being held down, it's gonna keep playing it. See, if you did it in here, it would start initiating a sound every single time, and that would be not good. And then here, get key up. I would stop playing thrusting sound. So how do you start and stop the sound like that? And so I'm going to use a variation. So I'm going to do the audio source dot clip. This one tells me what clip I'm going to do, and I'm going to use the thrusters FX clip that I had, and then I'm going to say audio source dot play. So that plays the sound. So unlike the one shot that kind of takes over your thing, this one you can play, and it will this is a looping sound for the thrusters effects, so it's going to just continue to loop and play that as long as you're holding the key down. And then for the get key up, I'm going to stop that sound. Okay, so I'm going to stop the thruster sound. So let's go in here and take a look. Okay, so boom, I died. Where am I? Oh, I'm right there. Oops, I'm right around the corner. So in theory, I should probably not spawn. I should probably spawn somewhere in the safe zone. Let me just adjust that for right now, but that's looking like it's working. So when I'm spawning the ship right here, I'm just going to do plus, I'm going to do, I don't know, 2F minus 2F plus 2F minus 2F, just so that it doesn't go all off the screen like that. Oh, I couldn't even thrust there. Okay, so now I can thrust. Okay, good. And now I need the explosion sounds. And I can put them, you know, let's do the ship explosion, for example. So I can put that on the object that that is exploding. So in that ship explosion, right, I can add the audio source there. So let me go to prefabs, ship explosion. I'm going to condense this down, add component, audio source, and I can literally drag the sound in here as well. So ship explosion, audio clip, ship explosion, and this is played on awaken. So the moment it's awake, it plays. So let's take a look at that. Okay, that's pretty cool.
sounds pretty deadly, pretty dangerous. Okay, so let me try it again. I'm gonna blow it up. Okay, so I exploded. All right. So the last thing we need to do is add sound for the explosion, the asteroid explosion. So we go to prefabs, asteroid explosion, add component, audio source, and like before, now we're going to add an asteroid explosion there. Okay, so now whenever that's triggered, that's going to go. Let's play that and listen to that. Okay, pretty cool. But see, the problem is with these little ones, it's still too dramatic, right? I mean, you don't want the big ones to sound so much like such a big explosion. So we're going to have to adjust that a little bit, okay? So let's do the following. So in the asteroid explosion, we're going to set the couple of components, the volume and the pitch, because we don't want it to be so loud, and also the higher the pitch, it sounds like a little tiny explosion. So let's go ahead and do that. So we go to asteroid explosion, and we're gonna again do a pointer to our private audio source so that we can control those settings. And when we awaken, we are going to say audio source equals get component audio source, like that. So we're going to have access to that. And then just going to make some space here. So now we're going to have an update function here, but rather we're going to make a new function called, it's public void, let's call it set audio. And we're going to set the volume level and the pitch level, like that. And then audio source dot volume is equal to volume level, and audio source dot pitch is equal to pitch level. So this is going to allow us to set the audio level and the pitch level, okay? And so the default are those loud ones, but we only want to set them for the child asteroids that we're going to spawn, right? So if we go to asteroids, right, in the part where we spawn off our little kid asteroids, right here, spawn child asteroids. And what we want is we want to get the set the audio of that, right? And actually, let me do it here. Let me do it when we are actually doing this asteroid explosion right here. This is where I want to set the sound, right? So I do a game object that. So what I want to do is, so I'm going to say set audio stuff for explosion based on asteroid size. So I'm going to say asteroid explosion dot get component, because asteroid explosion is just a game object, so I need to get it as asteroid explosion. A lot of times get component is not really good to do in the update loop, but you can do it in this case because it's not happening all the time. But I'm going to set audio, and I'm going to set it to some volume level. In fact, the one was a little loud, so I'm going to make the maximum 8. And then the pitch is going to set to 1. But what I'm going to do with these two numbers is I'm going to subtract something from here and add on something to here. So the bigger the asteroid gets, the more I'm going to subtract, right? So I'm going to have some factor, let's call it scale offset, so scale factor, times, I don't know, 0.25. So as scale factor goes up, I'm multiplying by scale factor. So this has got to be scale, let's see, int scale factor is equal to max scale minus scale, right? So when these are equal, then scale factor is 0, you're at 0.8.
But as scale goes down, this number goes up, and you take bigger chunks, right? So I'm going to do the same thing here. Scale factor, I don't know, 0.5f. So what this is doing, this is decreasing the volume for the ones that are further away, that are smaller. So let me go ahead and play. Oops, compiler errors. Scale factor. Oop, I misspelled it. Okay, play. So now hopefully the bigger ones are louder, and as you get to the smaller ones, they're so quieter. That's big and slow. Yeah, good. Those little ones are softer. Good. Ship died. Okay, so I think that's basically everything I need to do for the game. It's already been almost 3.5 hours, a little bit more than 3.5 hours, so I don't want to spend too much time. I got to get some other things done, but I hope this was a useful tutorial. I would consider this obviously a fairly unpolished game. I would not, I mean, maybe for this initial walkthrough it's fine, but I'm expecting all of your games moving forward to have a higher level of polish than what I'm showing. For example, with a little bit more time, I would have added some thrusters to the ship. There's a lot of like bells and whistles you could add. It's a lot more polished, right? I mean, this is a very unpolished game, so kind of a C quality game, I guess. Grade level C. But it's just a very basic way to get you started. And I will post this. So yeah, hope you guys had fun and enjoyed the walkthrough. Okay, so I will. Oh, before I go though, let me talk to you a little bit about burning out the final version, because I mentioned that. So that's actually, I should have put that on the to-do list, like build final version. So you go to build settings, and let's see. So we've got a Windows platform. And I have build. I can do build and run, but let me just first do the player settings, so I can do this stuff like here. So this is where you would introduce a splash image. So for example, let's go ahead and add one, because I think I have a sprite. In fact, we need to add it to my. Let me go ahead and add it. So I got. Game development logo that I made. I can stick it in Unity stuff, Asteroids, assets, bitmaps. Just paste it right in there. Let me make it a little longer. It's got a preview mode somewhere. Preview. Do it again, preview. Oh, that's pretty cool. Alright, so let's do that. I think that's it for the settings. Let me see. So, sometimes you change, how it pops out of the screen and stuff, but I'm just going to keep it for the basic stuff for right now. And so I'm going to close this. I'm going to do build. And so in my Asteroids thing, I'm gonna do a folder called my build, and select it, and I'm gonna build it there. So it's gonna take a bit of time to compile everything. Okay. So if I go now to my build in my game development directory, I've got an Asteroids game. Looks pretty professional. Okay, and then right away, this is good while we playtest, right? I've got a problem with my screen. The stuff's not scaling to the size that I needed to, right? So let's figure that out. These icons things here. Oh, also there's no way to quit this stupid thing. So I need to add close. So the first thing I need to do is add a quit capability. So I'm going to just add a escape key. So in my game controller, I'm just going to check if input key get key down, that's fine. And I want to check the escape key, so it's key code dot escape, and if so, oops, I'm missing a parentheses. And if so, application dot quit. So that should terminate it. So let's go ahead and rebuild here. I believe I can just go back here and do another build in the same directory, so that folder. Okay, and now escape. Good. Okay, so now the next thing to do is to figure out why this is not scaling to the size of the screen. So I think the problem is here, because I think I need to make it scale with screen size. Set the reference to 1920 1080, and then I may have to adjust these guys again. So let me go to my game over and make it a little bigger again. I should have done this the first time around, sorry. Game over. So I'll do it right there. Game over. Do maybe a little bit bigger. There we go. And then for my level cleared, let me hide the game over just so I don't see it. And then level cleared, do the same thing. Except I'm going to make it, get rid of the annoying things. Okay. I know I thought it was cool, but no, I don't think so. Level clear. Okay. And bring back the game over. And then for these guys I can do the, so let me select, so move up score to be running the lives, there we go. So I'm going to select all these. I'm going to move them up to the top of the screen. And then I'm going to move the score to the left. And I'm going to move these guys to the right. And I'm going to save.
And if I play here, let's make sure that that comes out okay. Okay, so it looks good here. Okay, looks good there. And so now let me do the build. So I go to File, Build, Settings. I don't have to do build settings. I just want to make sure that everything's still the same way as I did. Yeah, it's got all that stuff there. So I'm going to do build. I'm going to build it into my build directory. This took a lot longer than I thought to just get all this done. Okay, and let's go. Too much talking, I think. Okay. Yeah, there. So now that was looking pretty good. The right position. So that's what I'm going to release for you guys. You guys can, of course, adjust several things. For example, I think this should need a little bit more thrust. So let's go ahead and just fine-tune some things here. Yeah, could use some more thrust. So let me go ahead and do that. So that's like the final play test that you would do. So that's in spaceship, thrust. Let me make that 0.25, being radical. So now load up Unity. Come on, there we go. Just gonna go ahead and build and run. I'm not entirely clear. I have to read about it. If build and run actually places that directory. Let's see. Well, I could use a little bit more speed. Actually, that asteroid caught up to me awfully fast. So let me do that. I'm just going to bump it up a little bit more. 35. Let's see if that. Okay, I think that should be okay. Build settings, build, select folder. Okay, so Asteroids game. Better. Okay, so demo in class. I think I'm basically done. I just need to now burn out this long video. Thank you for watching. I'll release this build as well so you guys can play with it. And thank you for watching the walkthrough. Hopefully everything went out well for you guys. Okay? Bye-bye.